You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to another week and another edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, the iHeartRadio app, and also streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN is the number to jump on in. That's 888-710-4476. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Or you can find me on TikTok at the Zach Gelb Show. We got a whole lot to do today. Aaron Murray, the former Georgia quarterback, he's going to swing by at the top of the hour at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Former Florida wide receiver Chris Doering is going to join us to kick off the 5 p.m. Eastern time hour. It was a pleasure. If you don't listen to me on Sundays when I host Sunday Morning Football, it was a pleasure to be on the air yesterday through all the mayhem that was going on in the college football world, where we knew that even though it wasn't made official yet, that Lane Kiffin was going to LSU and he was leaving Ole Miss in the dust, no matter how he wants to spin it and how the AD and the chancellor wouldn't let him coach out the rest of the season, blah, 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 blah. But once that news sort of became clear that it was going to be official, even without being official yet, because Lane was going to basically just be a drama whore here and wait and wait and wait and delay the meeting and delay the meeting and delay the meeting and then not even be allowed to be at the meeting. We knew that it was going to be final, that Lane Kiffin was going to LSU. And then all the aftermath around it was going to be rather intriguing, of all these other coaches and all these other schools were just waiting to see if Lane to LSU was going to be official. And once that did move, John Sumrall goes to Florida, Ryan Silverfield goes to Arkansas, Alex Golesh goes to Auburn, and then you find out a few hours later that Pete Golding, who was the defensive coordinator at Ole Miss, is not only going to be the interim head coach at Ole Miss, he's going to be the next full-time head coach. And if that wasn't enough SEC coaching news for you yesterday, then last night, where you knew that Mark Stoops wasn't going away on his own accord and that Kentucky was going to have to fire their coach in Mark Stoops, who I know it was getting away from Mark Stoops. He was so successful at Kentucky. Like, on my time here at CBS Sports Radio and Infinity Sports Network, Mark Stoops has had 2 10-win seasons at Kentucky, folks. All right? So the guy's a heck of a head football coach, but all good things, like we know in life, must come to an end. And it was time for Kentucky to hit the restart button and find the next chapter of Wildcats football, and Mark Stoops was shown the door last night. So this was just in the span of 24 hours or less. Lane Kiffin to LSU, John Sumrall to the Swamp, Ryan Silverfield to Pig Suey, Alex Golesh to Auburn, Mark Stoops fired, and Pete Golding is going to be replacing Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. Let's start with the Lane train. And some people may say it's the lame train, or the lane plane, or the lame plane. Whether you like Lane Kiffin or not, it's irrelevant. Lane Kiffin is easily, and it's not even close. Don't tell me Belichick, UNC's nothing. Don't tell me it's Coach Prime, Colorado was nothing this year without Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. By far and away, the most polarizing coach in college football right now is easily, like, he runs circles right now around Dabo Swinney, who's extremely polarizing. But the most polarizing coach in the sport of college football is Lane Kiffin. Because when Lane Kiffin leaves a job, he burns the house down. Or when Lane Kiffin leaves a job, it is just dramatic fashion. And I don't care what ESPN tried to sell you on. Oh, Lane Kiffin's a change man. This is a different Lane Kiffin. It's the same old Lane. And quite frankly, Lane being the same old Lane, whether you like it or not, is exactly the flavor and is exactly the type of personality that there is a space carved out for him and only him in college football. You have a team at Ole Miss that is going to the college football playoff. And the committee may screw them. I don't think they're going to screw them out of the playoff, but they may knock them down a few spots, and they may not get a home game in Oxford, Mississippi. They may have to go on the road. But at 11-1, there is no effing way that they are going to keep them out of the college football playoff. But Lane Kiffin, who blew it last year to make the college football playoff, has a team this year with Kewan Lacey and Trinidad Chambliss that's 11-1. And leading into the Egg Bowl where they were 10-1, it was, is Lane going to stay or is Lane going to go? And quite frankly, heading into the weekend, your guess was as good as mine. It felt like from the outside perspective that it was a true flip of the coin. And I know some people sat there and they said on Thursday going into Friday, well, Zach, if he was going to stay, wouldn't he already say so? And it was a fair point. But Lane Kiffin, whether he wants to admit he's a hoe or not, Lane Kiffin is a drama whore. That's what he is. So there was this idea that Lane Kiffin would win the Egg Bowl and then on Saturday would announce that he's not effing leaving. Or there was going to be an announcement after you win the Egg Bowl that I am leaving. Well, Saturday did come and go, and we got no damn announcement. And once Saturday was playing on out, and you had that, 3 or 4 hour meeting where Marty Smith was starting to be like, in Castaway. I thought he was going to start screaming, Wilson! Wilson! That's what I thought. Marty Smith, who was camped out at Oxford, Mississippi, just waiting for this damn meeting to end. Once that meeting took 3 or 4 hours, I said to myself, folks, this is a divorce, and Lane's going to make this messy. And that's what he did, because Lane Kiffin wanted everything. Lane Kiffin wanted to leave Ole Miss at the altar, but say to them, you know what, we'll go through with the ceremony, and then we'll get an annulment on the marriage like 2 or 3 weeks later. Like, Lane Kiffin is out. Lane Kiffin was going to LSU, and he wanted to stay and coach his team. But in reality, how effective would he even be? He's going to LSU to deal with recruiting. He's going to LSU to deal with the transfer portal. And I get it. The system is rotten that a coach could leave before the college football playoff even ends, but that's the system. I don't like it. I've ranted about it. I raved about it. But Lane Kiffin on Friday, after the Egg Bowl, he says, I'm going to talk to my mentors since my dad is no longer around, right? I'm going to talk to Pete Carroll. I'm going to talk to Nick Saban. And then Nick Saban, I love Nick Saban, the greatest college football coach of all time. Can he stop being a PR person for all these coaches? Like James Franklin, he tells him it's a disgrace how Penn State treated you, right? When James Franklin got fired. And then he goes on ESPN, right? Him and Herb Street, and they're like, oh, Ole Miss, it would be disgraceful if they didn't let him finish out the rest of the season and coach. So once Nick Saban was allowing that conversation to manifest on Saturday, you should have known right there that Lane Kiffin was gone. But what Lane Kiffin did was this. He pretty much said, he had like a beautiful apartment, right? And he basically told the landlord, hey, I'm breaking my lease, but I want to keep my keys for the next 3 weeks and not pay you anything and just slowly move my stuff out. And the landlord said, no, if you want to leave, leave. Hit the road, Jack, and never come back. And once Lane Kiffin wasn't allowed to keep his keys and still continue to coach his team, he tried to burn the house down. Right? And I don't know what's true or false. And I know he's going to deny it. Of course he's going to deny it. He tries to be the victim here. And I don't even hate Lane Kiffin. But there's a report out there that he was issuing ultimatums to his staff that if you don't get on the plane with me, you won't be welcomed at LSU, blah, 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 blah. And it seems like the players are on board with Lane leaving and then Pete Golden taking over. So that's where we are. But what we saw from Friday into Saturday and then what was the entire day of Sunday was just wild. And think about this. The Ole Miss Lane Kiffin era ends with him boarding a private jet, and you have fans giving him the bird and yelling, F you, Lane Kiffin, as he gets on that private jet to go to Baton Rouge. Like, yesterday is only drama and only a script and only things that you see in college football. It's wild. It was mayhem. It was bizarre. It was surreal. It was crazy. It was ridiculous. It was stupid to cover. But now let me be abundantly clear. Lane Kiffin is leaving Ole Miss because he thinks he can go win a national championship at LSU. Well, Lane Kiffin, you have a team that's 11-1 and is in the college football playoff. I get it. It may be easier to win a national championship at LSU than it is at Ole Miss. but who just left Notre Dame to try to go to LSU because he was told, oh, hey, you have 3 coaches since the year of 2000 that have won national championships at LSU with their football team. You'll be able to do that. That was Brian Kelly. Yeah, now Lane Kiffin's replacing Brian Kelly. Notre Dame went to the national championship game last year. Brian Kelly never made the college football playoff. I'll tell you this. Lane Kiffin is obviously more of a fit for LSU than he is Brian Kelly, than Brian Kelly was. Lane Kiffin will be in the college football playoff for LSU. But it's not about just making the college football playoff. We set the bar at the bare minimum here that Lane Kiffin has to at least win 1 national championship at LSU. And if he doesn't win at least 1 national championship, his tenure at LSU will be viewed as one big, fat, giant disgrace that is an unmitigated disaster. But if you are an LSU fan, you should be fired up. You should be pumped up. Lane Kiffin wins a lot of games. But the whole way that this thing did go about, and it's different, right? Like if North Texas wins the American Athletic Conference, they're going to the college football playoff. If Tulane wins the American Athletic Conference, they're going to the college football playoff. Eric Morris is leaving a G5 job for Oklahoma State in the Big 12. John Sumrall is leaving a G5 job in Tulane for the SEC. But they're going to coach their team throughout the rest of the season. But when you leave in the middle of the season, right at the end of the season, and I know you wanted to stay, but you're going to another SEC school, I don't really fault Florida for saying, Lane, we're not letting you coach the team for the rest of the season. You're leaving us. If you want to coach this team so badly, you could stay. We want you to stay. But in reality, God told him. That's what Lane Kiffin tried to tell us. God told him to go take the head football coaching job at LSU. Yeah, that's what the big fella upstairs, right? The big fella upstairs was sitting there saying, Lane, let's sit down Friday night after the game. Then let's sit down through Saturday. Then let's wait till Sunday. And then I will tell you, Lane Kiffin, that you must go. That you must go to Baton Rouge. You must go to LSU. It is God speaking. God, you must go. Lane, you must leave Ole Miss, and you must go to LSU. Yeah, God told him that. Come on. Lane, you like the drama. Lane, you like the attention. And you like to leave a place, and you like to leave it messy. This wasn't Pete Carroll telling him. This wasn't Nick Saban telling him. This wasn't God telling him. They may have reaffirmed his decision, but this is Lane saying, I could get one of the top 5 jobs in America. The whole college football world is eating out of the palm of my hand, waiting to see what I'm going to do. And I'll win the Egg Bowl. Then people will think I'm going to stay. Oh, then I'm going to tell everyone a decision's coming on Saturday. No decision comes on Saturday. And then Sunday, we make you wait. We have a team meeting at 10 a.m. Then it gets pushed back to like 1 or 2 p.m. And then I'm on a plane. And I'm leaving on a jet plane, the Lane plane, to go to Baton Rouge. That's what it was. That's what it was. This was all about Lane being Lane. It was all about Lane. Lane. Because that's what Lane wants it about. And if you go win a national championship at LSU, God bless you, right? But if you don't, your decision to leave Ole Miss, a team that's 11-1 in the college football playoff, would be viewed as an unmitigated disaster. And I'll tell you, I have nothing against LSU. I have nothing against Lane Kiffin. I think he's great for the sport. I think he's the most polarizing coach. He could become the next face of college football if he's not already the next face of college football. But doesn't it kind of make you, even though with the way his contract is structured, he will actually get his bonuses from LSU if Ole Miss wins the national championship? Yes, that's what Mr. Sexton did in the negotiations on that one. Good job there, Jimmy. Fatten up the wallet even more. That guy crosses every T and dots every I. I give him credit, Jimmy Sexton. I do. But doesn't it kind of make you want Lane Kiffin sitting there, in the LSU Tiger family, go Tigers house, as you see Ole Miss win 1 game, then 2 games, then 3 games, and then they win the national championship. Oh, how awesome would that be? That would be really cool. So Lane Kiffin off to LSU. Ole Miss going to promote Pete Golding to be the next head football coach, if you're going to try to keep all these players or most of these players, I think that's the right decision, especially how quickly this thing did move. John Summerall goes to Florida. I don't get any Florida fans really opposing this hire. That dude has a ton of energy. That dude is a football psycho. That dude reminds me of Dan Lanning. Yeah, obviously you wanted Lane Kiffin, but if it wasn't Lane Kiffin, who did you want? And I understand, G5, all that stuff, what just happened with Billy Napier. John Summerall seems like a whole lot more of a fit at Florida than Billy Napier did. Just from afar, just where their resumes are. Ryan Silverfield goes to Arkansas. I saw a lot of Arkansas fans upset about that hire. I get it. He's not the greatest coach in the world, but you're Arkansas. You're not a premier job. You're Arkansas. So who else did you want? All right, you wanted Alex Golesh. And maybe your AD messed that one up. Maybe he did. But is there that much of a difference? And I think Alex Golesh is slightly a better coach, but is there that much of a difference from Alex Golesh to Ryan Silverfield? No, there's not. I thought Ryan Silverfield was going to Arkansas all along. It just seems like that's the best you could do. Maybe you could do slightly better with Alex Golesh. Golesh goes to Auburn. I like that move too. And then Mark Stoops got fired. It was the right decision by Kentucky to fire Mark Stoops. The question is just who you're going to get. Will Stein grew up as a Kentucky fan, right? Played at Louisville. Hartline's got connections to Kentucky. His brother's there. So it seems like one of those two coaches could be in play. And maybe Dan Mullen gets in the mix, and maybe we see Dan Mullen back in the SEC as well. So now we'll wait and see what happens on Kentucky. But Lane Kiffin, drama. And once the Lane domino did fall, Summerall to the Swamp, Silverfield to Pig Suey, Golesh to War Eagle. And then you did also find out Mark Stoops fired and Pete Golding was going to replace Lane Kiffin in the SIP. All righty, Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a time out if you want to jump on board today. Get your college football calls in, get your NFL calls in, whatever's on the table for you. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. We'll take a break. Aaron Murray going to join us at 4 p.m. Eastern Time today. Chris Doring's going to stop by at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
We'll get to your calls in just a second. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. It is the Zach Gelb Show. Lane Kiffin is the new head football coach at LSU. But also, we did have games this weekend in college football. It was something called Rivalry Weekend. You may have heard of it. So those games still do matter. We are a week away from finding out who's going to be in the college football playoff. You have the conference championship games this weekend. Here's what I could tell you right now. Ohio State is in. Indiana is in. A&M, even though they just lost to Texas, they'll still be in. Georgia is in. Oregon is in. Ole Miss is in. Oklahoma is in. I think win or lose in the SEC championship game, Alabama is also in. Last year, they kind of showed you they're not going to ding a team from losing in their conference championship game. So that's 8 teams right there. Whoever wins the American Athletic Conference Championship is also going to be in. That's going to be 9. Now, here's a big misnomer. Usually we think just because you're in the Power 4 and you win your conference championship in the Power 4, you are guaranteed a spot in the college football playoff. That's not technically the case. It's the 5 highest ranked conference champions. So with that being said, the ACC, if they see Virginia win the ACC championship, then Virginia will go. But if Duke upsets Virginia in the ACC championship game, either Duke is going to go, which is unlikely, or if James Madison wins their conference championship, then James Madison's going to go. I think James Madison will be ahead of Duke. So that's something to watch when you get to the rankings coming up tomorrow night. So whether it's Duke, Virginia, or James Madison, one of those spots will go to them to get to 10. Now, is Texas Tech a lock? They were the 5th seed last week. I think they're a lock. They're in the Big 12 championship. They play BYU. They only have 1 loss on the season. They already beat BYU. So if Texas Tech already beats BYU, loses to BYU, let's say by a field goal or a touchdown, I still think Texas Tech goes, and then BYU would also get in, and then that's 12, and it's donezo. Now, if BYU loses, clearly Texas Tech is in, and then you have Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia, Oregon, Ole Miss, Oklahoma, Bama, whoever wins the American, whoever wins the other conference, whether it's the ACC, depending on the stipulations that we put in there, or maybe even James Madison and Texas Tech. So that would get to 11. Then it comes down to really two teams. If BYU loses the conference championship, I don't think they're getting in. I know people are going to say, well, Zach, you just said that the committee's not going to ding someone for losing in their conference championship game. The SEC is different than the Big 12. It is. And also, who are the other two teams that are lurking that we haven't mentioned yet? Notre Dame and Miami. Like, I thought Sark actually, even though I don't think Texas deserves to go, I thought Sark laid out a really good argument. Listen to Sark. This was on ESPN after they did defeat A&M. This was Sark saying Texas should be in the college football playoff.
You tell me, that team's undefeated, number 3 in the country. A lot of the pundits out there think they're the number 1 team in the country. We just beat them by 10.
What kind of statement do you think that made to the committee?
Well, I think this. If you really look at the body of work and you look at the Southeastern Conference and what we have to go through every week, you look at the non-conference schedule we play to go to Ohio State in week 1 and lose by 7, when we outgained them by nearly 200 yards, we got a really good football team, and it would be a disservice to our sport if this team's not a playoff team when we went and scheduled that non-conference game. Because if we're a 10-2 team, it's not a question. But we were willing to go play that game. So is that what college football is about? Don't play anybody and just have a good record, or play the best and put the best teams in the playoff, and we're one of the best teams.
You can make the case that Texas is one of the 12 best teams in the country. You can make the case. And I like what he said about Ohio State and Texas and playing that game. But you also lost to Florida, who stinks this year. All right? So once you get to 3 losses in the regular season, not conference championship weekend, regular season, I don't sit here and really entertain your argument. I said the same thing last year when Bama was bitching, when South Carolina was bitching, when Ole Miss was bitching. 3 losses or more, right? If you're over 2 losses in the regular season, I don't sit there and hear you bitch. I just don't. Now, Notre Dame and Miami. I think when the first rankings came out, Notre Dame was 10th and Miami was 18th, I'm pretty sure. Now that gap has narrowed significantly. Stu, you are Mr. Notre Dame. If this comes down to where Ohio State's in, Indiana's in, A&M is in, Georgia's in, Oregon is in, Ole Miss is in, Oklahoma's in, Bama's in, whoever wins the AAC, whoever wins either the ACC or if it's James Madison and Texas Tech, if it truly comes down to that spot where you have a 2-loss Notre Dame and you have a 2-loss Miami and they played each other and Miami defeated Notre Dame, who do you think should, not will, who do you think should get in?
Yeah, should is it and will is definitely very different. I would say Miami because they won the head-to-head, but I don't think that will happen. And I think there will be a team between Notre Dame and Miami, so I don't think that will be a case. I think Notre Dame is ahead of Alabama.
Really?
I do, yes.
You think so Alabama getting to the conference championship game with only 2 losses.
Squeaking by a average Auburn team.
That's fine. Hey, you look at Notre Dame, though. Who did they really play?
I'm saying what the committee is.
Outside the first 2.
I'm saying what the committee has said the whole year, which even.
I know what the ranking said last week where Notre Dame was in front of Alabama. If it came down to Notre Dame and Alabama, I'd be stunned if the committee, even though it's Notre Dame, if the committee said, hey, Alabama, you lost the SEC championship game, you're out, I would be surprised by that. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I think Alabama is in regardless. But if this comes down to Notre Dame and Miami,
yes.
You think Miami should get in, but
yes.
It will be Notre Dame.
Yes.
I can't tell you you're wrong on that. I think it should be Miami. I do. They played head-to-head. They had the same record. I understand Miami. You could view the losses, and they lost to Louisville and SMU. Notre Dame's losses are to Miami and A&M. But that's the thing. They lost to Miami. So doesn't head-to-head matter? It should, and I get it. Notre Dame, right? They're not in a conference. Miami's in the ACC. The ACC's not having this great year, but they played head-to-head. I get it was in week 1. Miami won. They should go over Notre Dame. But in terms of will, I would have said last week no shot that the committee will put Miami in over Notre Dame. I think there's a real shot now. And there's a real plausible shot now. Because I think the committee got a little bit sensitive to the outside noise early on, and we've already seen them move them up all that way. But I will believe it when I see it. I think there's a shot that Miami will go to the playoff. I think there's a shot, but I still will believe it when I see it if they put Miami in over Notre Dame, because there is that kind of unwritten rule that there's a spot reserved for Notre Dame in this 12-team installment of the college football playoff. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Let me go to Kevin in San Antonio, wants to start things off. Kev, what's shaking, my man?
Oh, man, happy holidays, man. And I know it's going to be college football. College football, there's a lot of drama there, and there's a lot of drama in the NFL. The Houston Texans, which is my favorite team, they got a defense. They got a good defense. They are straight up defense. They're going to go to the playoffs. They're going to shock somebody.
I would not want to play them in the playoffs just because of their defense with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter and Stingley, too, on the back end. But you know what's still a concern for me? The quarterback. C.J. Stroud, his first year, he was sensational. Last year, he regressed. I know he's been in and out of the lineup, but he just looks like a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. Could they win one playoff game? Yeah, they won one playoff game the last 2 seasons. Can they win multiple playoff games? With that defense, they should be able to. I just don't know if the quarterback is going to be good enough to do so. And you even saw it last year, right? They won their first playoff game, and I think that they went up against the Chiefs in round number 2. That defense did everything they could in the first half, and they were still trailing at halftime because of the fact that their offense just wasn't good enough. So they changed the coordinators. The quarterback is back. There is a ton of pressure. I don't think it gets talked about enough. But, Kev, there's a ton of pressure in the second half of the season and the rest of the way on C.J. Stroud to take the Texans to that next step. And even with that being said, and thanks for the phone call, Kev, they're still not even guaranteed to get in. Like, the Broncos are 10-2. The Pats could be 11-2 after tonight. The Jaguars are 8-4. The Ravens are 6-6, but one AFC North team's going to go. The Chargers are 8-4. Herbert's now injured. Colts have fallen to 8-4. The Bills are 8-4. Texans are 7-5. Steelers are 6-6, and the Chiefs are 6-6. So can they win that division? Oh, absolutely. 7-5 for the Texans, 8-4 for the Colts, and then the Jaguars at 8-4. So they're right there knocking on the door for the division. But if you don't win the division, are you going to be able to snag a wild card spot? But if they make the playoffs, yeah, wild card weekend with the way that their defense can play, to just win one game, I would not feel great playing the Texans just because of the way that Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson could take over a game. But I just don't know if Stroud is going to be good enough to do more than just win one game in the postseason, which he's done, to his credit, his first 2 years of his NFL career. All righty, let's say congratulations. It's been a long, long time. The last 4 times these two teams played on the football field, Michigan and Ohio State, leading into this weekend in the game, which is the best rivalry in college football, Michigan just smacked Ohio State. They took Ryan Day, they put him on the lap, bent him over, and just smacked that ass. That's what they did. But even though there was a big run early on by Marshall, even though there was a big interception, Michigan was only able to get 6 points out of that. And once they only got 6 points out of that, you knew the juggernaut of the Ohio State offense was going to wake up. And wake up they did. And Ohio State smothered the Wolverines in the big house. And we know that our resident Ohio State fan, or should I say degenerate, in Mike in Abilene, Texas, was very, very happy. Michael, congratulations. I know that this has been a terrible, terrible time for you up until Saturday, but your Ohio State Buckeyes finally beat the great Michigan Wolverines.
Hey, degenerate, hoodlum, has been. I'll take it, brother. Let's give the fans listening. You know, I'm aware that they're sports fans. Let's just give them a true, honest recap. What happened was we went 9-0 against that team up north. And then the greatest cheating scandal that ever happened took place, including the recruiting of the recruit.
They ran the ball and they kicked your ass.
4 years we've lost in a row, and 2 of those have an asterisk by them. But 2 of them don't. You're right. The last one, last year's, was absolutely, still to this day, will forever be unforgivable. Don't YouTube that, kids. That's a very, very different subject, unforgivable. Not sure if you remember that, Zach Gelb. But anywho, unforgivable to this day. The win Saturday did not make up for the loss last year because we got 4 more in a row, and we got 10 more in a row after that. It's time to not only end this slide, it's time to take over the series completely, which means another decade. 9 is 1 year short of a decade for you guys up north, bad at math. 9 straight times.
Like
Get
Ohio
ready
State
for
is
at
a
least.
lot intelligent there. Let's not act like you guys are intelligent.
No. Hey, I'm not for – well,
I think the academic standard, I think it's a little bit tougher
least.
to get into Michigan than it is Ohio State, if I'm just being honest.
I'd have to check with my agent on that. I don't have those numbers in front of me.
I don't know. I have two friends that I have two
factual.
friends. Hold on. I have two friends that attended Michigan. They're intelligent. I have one friend that attended Ohio State. He's smart, but he's not as intelligent as the other two, if I'm just being honest.
Dang. Well, he's given us a bad name. Get ready for 10 years in a row at least. This was the last time Michigan will beat us for the next decade. Period. End of story, bar none. There's the new prediction for the next 10 years. I hope it was worth it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I hope everybody enjoyed it, because there will be 3 graduating classes of Wolverines that will not even know the distant memory of the cheating scandal that handed them some wins and 2 good wins to end it. Now, that being said, that was only the first. Well, Texas is kind of a test, but I don't know. It was a weird thing. Both teams weren't really play calling a lot. The next test, I feel like, will be an even bigger one. The mental side of things is so big that now that we've got that mental monkey off our back, now we have to go play a team that is 10 times better than the team that we just beat. So I really hope Ryan Day has got us ready to play, because I could tell you one guy that have his team ready to play is Signetti.
Yeah.
Smoking cigs and chunking them on the ground. He will be ready for us. So we have one more true test. The only, 2 tests all year, I'll take it. Depending on how we play Indiana, we'll tell you exactly what we're about to do to this playoff field.
Mike,
Okay?
I got to let
If
you
it's a
run.
struggle-
Congratulations, though. Thanks so much for making the phone call today. Good stuff, as always. Here's the bottom. I couldn't listen to any of that Ohio State stuff. I'll tell you. If you made me make a prediction today, I'll say Ohio State beats Indiana. Just today for the Big Ten Championship. I do think there's emotion that was let out on Saturday that could be tough to reel it back in. And I do think the game means more for Indiana than it does for Ohio State. But I will tell you, once the playoff starts, any team that plays Ohio State, I'll be rooting against them. I'll be rooting against Ohio State. Like, I want any team to win but Ohio State. Because some of their fans, not Mike, I like Mike, but some of their fans are insufferable. They are absolutely insufferable. And the hypocrisies that we saw from the last 4 years than what we saw on Saturday, they were clearly evident. Update time. Let's get to the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Advantage Gold. Defense wins football games and protects retirements, too. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000 now. And leave your email and get your free gold information kit. The Giants once denied the Patriots 2 Super Bowl victories, or maybe they twice denied them 2 Super Bowl victories. The two teams meet tonight in Foxborough under much different circumstances. New England enjoying a resurgence under Mike Vrabel, looking for its 10th straight win, while the Giants are hoping to finish with pride under interim coach Mike Kafka. Drake May was the apple of the Giants' eye a year ago, but the Pats stood pat and are now enjoying their second-year quarterback, while Jackson Dart has provided hope for the Giants. He returns to start tonight.
I'm ready. I've been waiting for it. Obviously, these primetime games are ones that you have circled on your calendar, so excited to go out there, go compete at a high level, and do everything, in my power to, rally these guys to put our team in the best situation, when the clock hits 0, that, we're going to come out with a win.
Kentucky has fired head coach Mark Stoops after 13 seasons. UCLA reportedly naming James Madison's Bob Chesney its new head coach, and Purdue remains number 1 in the latest AP Top 25. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Alrighty, news brief time on the Zach Gelb Show. Let's hear from Lane Kiffin, the new head football coach at LSU. Here was him talking about why he chose to leave the Rebels.
This was really hard. My heart was here, but I just, I talked to some mentors, Coach Carroll, Coach Saban, especially when Coach Carroll said, man, your dad would tell you to go, man, take the shot. Take the shot. You've accomplished a lot here. I always hated how we only gave 1 year to Tennessee and left. I really hated that feeling of that, even though it was an exciting year. But, I think that we gave a lot to this program and to the city, and some of the most historic wins in this stadium they've ever had, and best regular season in the history of the school. So I feel proud of that part, but it just became time. I talked to God and he told me it's time to take a new step. It's a new chapter.
I don't like to mock religion. I don't. But, is God really telling Lane Kiffin to leave Ole Miss to go to LSU? Just say you think you could win a national championship at LSU. You don't think you could win a national championship at Ole Miss. That's what I think this is. And you also love being the villain. You love being the most polarizing coach in the sport. You like, just when things start to get right, to then make them messy and not just leave with class, but leave looking like an ass. That's what Lane Kiffin is all about, folks. It's not crazy. And he's a character that's essential for college football because he has a personality. He is polarizing. He has potential to be the face of the sport. But let's not sit here and say, oh, it was God why you're leaving Ole Miss to LSU. Like, God's calling said you need to go to LSU. No. It's because you wanted to be the next head football coach at LSU because it's easier to win a national championship there than it is at Ole Miss. And it's one of the top 5 jobs in the country. Let's just call a spade here. This is Lane Kiffin more on the decision to leave.
It was really difficult. This has been a really special place. 6 years here. I know that there's a lot of feelings and emotions right now around. I hope when they settle down that there's an appreciation about what we were able to do here and having the best run that's ever been done in the history of the school.
And here is Lane Kiffin on the Ole Miss athletic director Keith Carter not letting him coach in the college football playoff.
I understand that decision, and so I just totally wish the team the best of luck. Wish that I was coaching, but understand that it was a very challenging position for him and the chancellor to be in, and totally respect that. So, just really hope they play really well and go win the national championship.
Let's hear from Bill Cowher. The legendary coach was on CBS Sports yesterday, and he made it clear that Lane Kiffin is all about himself.
Why would an AD let a coach who made a decision that he wanted to go to LSU and not stay at Ole Miss coach my players and use my coaches and tell them for the next month why they should be joining him at LSU? Totally understand. I would just say thank you, Lane, and goodbye. And that being said, if indeed he decides to take other coaches with him, I would just say any player that goes to play for Lane Kiffin, just understand one thing. It's not about the program, it's about Lane Kiffin. Because he don't care about the players that he just went through a season with, a special season, players he's had for 4 years, with an opportunity to go to the playoffs. He's decided to take them and not only leave them, which I get, okay, you want to do that, but now you're going to take offensive coaches with you and destroy the program.
And deplete the program.
Deplete the program and the dreams of these young men who you said that you want to be there and you want to do it with. But if I can't do it, I'm not going to let you do it.
Bill Cowher doesn't need the dramatic music, but Bill Cowher with the dramatic music makes me a little bit intimidated, if I'm just being honest. Also, after the Egg Bowl, Lane Kiffin confronted a reporter by the name of Ben Garrett, because I guess Ben Garrett said you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, and Lane Kiffin didn't like this. Let's listen up on Lane Kiffin on confronting the reporter about the hoe comment.
Yeah, I think, I understand your guys' job, and I think things are fair. Like I say, when questions come, those are fair questions. Maybe I can't answer them. Maybe I don't see them the same. But when you call someone a hoe, that's a different level of stuff. Can't make hoes into housewives, or something like that. That's about as bush league as stealing Trinidad's jersey like Mississippi State did last night. Luckily we had another one, but so I ain't got any respect for that.
I don't either, but that wasn't the comment. The comment was, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife, hoes don't act right. It's not calling you a hoe, it's about commitment. And that's what really the question is. You wanted a commitment from people were asking about where you're committed to, you're still not doing that. So you don't think there's anything wrong with getting upset about something so innocuous as that, paying attention after a win, especially in the Egg Bowl?
Yeah, let's move on from that. Next question. What's the
I actually don't even know your name.
So Lane Kiffin has since called the reporter and apologized to him and actually even sent him a hoe housewife meme. And Lane Kiffin, by the way, was more of a hoe than a housewife because he left Ole Miss to go to LSU as Ole Miss is on the verge of going to the college football playoff. Here is Ben Garrett, the reporter on 3 Sports, on his whole comment.
At least decent enough to say, man, this place has been awesome to me. But did you see, you have to qualify with, but did you see the Citadel last week? Like, dude, it's done. People are done with the trolling. It's old. This whole situation reminds me of a Project Pat line. You know what that Project Pat line was? He said, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Hoes don't act right. And I feel it's appropriate because, tell me it's wrong. Like, dude, it is what it is. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Like, that's what's happened here. Like, dude, you knew what you were signing up for. All Ole Miss fans would say, it doesn't have to end messy, and you made it messy anyway.
So those were the original comments, and I have no problem with those comments. Lane Kiffin was being a little sensitive, probably trying to add a little bit more flair to the drama, a little bit more spark to the drama. And let's be real, at the end of the day, he did leave, so the reporter's right, and Lane Kiffin is wrong. But once you call someone a hoe in the sports world, everyone starts calling people hoes. Let's hear Shelby Harris. This is Shelby Harris after the Browns-49ers game. He calls Jawan Jennings a hoe.
He's a hoe, and I want that known. Like, I see why he got punched in the nuts, because he says some things that you should not say to another man, ever. But, I don't respect it because you say that, then run behind your O-line. That's some real soft and I want that known. I see exactly why they punched in the nuts. I'm surprised nobody punched him in the jaw yet.
It could be the best audio clip in the sports world in a long time. Stu, you a hoe. I just feel compelled to call you a hoe because everyone's calling everyone a hoe. Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas. Let's go to Ryan Silverfield on coaching Arkansas.
When I think about Arkansas football, I think about the rich traditions, the history of this place, and I think about winning football. I don't think about the recent history and what was me. No, what we're going to get back to, and then actually what we're going to get past and show people, listen, why can't this be the best football program in the entire country? And it doesn't have to sit there and say, okay, Ryan, is it going to take 5 years, 10 years? What's your plan? No, it's a right now mentality. We're going to have to win right now. We're going to have to bring in the right type of people right now and go show people what we're all about and go show the country what Arkansas is really all about.
And Alex Golish and the mentality he wants to have at Auburn.
We're also going to have a hell of a lot of fun doing it. We're going to be explosive on offense. We're going to play really fast. We're going to challenge teams in every imaginable way. We're going to run the freaking ball. People around here like running the football, and I can respect it. We're going to be explosive. We're going to play really fast, and it's going to be a brand of football that's going to be fun to watch.
It's time to ask the pros. You, the listener, gets asked us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. If you're listening later in the show, we might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Coming up next, Aaron Murray joins the Zach Gelb Show. Stu's the host. Sam's the host. Ho, 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 ho.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Was just reading this on Football Scoop. The talks are real. The position has been discussed multiple times. So too have loose parameters of a contract offer. Penn State and BYU head coach Kalani Sitake are continuing to discuss the Nittany Lions head football coaching vacancy, which has been open since midseason when Pat Kraft fired 12th year head coach James Franklin amidst a 3-3 start to a season and eventually concluded last weekend at 6-6 following a 40-36 win at Rutgers. We got a whole lot going on in the college football world. Lane Kiffin, obviously, to LSU. John Sumrall to Florida. A lot of other craziness in the SEC with college football. We got conference championship weekend and then maybe some news right around the corner with Penn State. Let's welcome in former Georgia quarterback Aaron Murray once again with us on the Zach Gelb Show. Aaron, appreciate the time as always. How you been?
Dude, it is an exhausting, crazy, fun ride that college football is right now. So it's I didn't even know that news until I just got on the show with you right now. So thanks for breaking that for me that may be happening at Penn State. That's kind of the next domino that needs to be to fall when it comes to head coaches across the country. A great job, obviously. But obviously the main focus has been a lot of these SEC jobs getting filled up yesterday. And, really Lane Kiffin being that first one that needed to go. And then kind of everything else that's come from that. So it's been a great season. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of parity in college football. This part of it's been a little bit too messy for my liking. I think for most people, a little bit too messy. And hopefully everyone realizes after this, this weekend alone, that a lot still needs to be corrected when it comes to the great game of college football that we enjoy so much.
Yeah, and Lane's like the perfect character for college football. I get it, the schedule of college football and the fact that this even is allowed sucks. But this is what Lane wants. Like, hey, Friday, everyone knew he was going to win the Egg Bowl. Saturday, which way's the decision's going to go? And then it bled into Sunday. And once it did go into Sunday, I think it was pretty clear that he was leaving Ole Miss and that he was going to LSU. So just how do you react to the weekend that was, where it was just Lane Kiffin, and then more Lane Kiffin?
Yeah, I think, I was waiting for the end of the Egg Bowl when they won the game for him to say, oh, I'm staying. Like, that would have been the perfect moment of like, this is my team. I love this team, and I'm committed to being the head coach, not only for the playoffs, but for the long term too. And kind of when he didn't make the statement, then I was like, okay, to me, the chances of him staying were going down significantly at every moment after that. So I think he made the right decision. When it's all said and done, I think for him and his future and the ability to win a championship and the possibility even to win multiple championships, that was not going to happen at Ole Miss. And I get we're in an era now of college football where, Kurt Cinetti can go to Indiana and turn them into a contender in 2 years, that Lane Kiffin can build stability and a winning culture there at Ole Miss. But can you do it over 5 years? Can you do it over a decade? And Kirk Cinetti's at a point in his career, I think in the mid-60s right now, where I don't think he's wanting to maybe leave Indiana and stay where he's at. Lane Kiffin's still a young guy. He still has the ability to coach for another 15, 20 years. And I think this is a move in which you go to LSU, and the hopes are, and I know that the whole discussion, I don't know if we're allowed to say it on this show or not, from the past weekend, will Lane ever stay at a one spot, or is he always going to be bouncing around, being the word that was used? I think LSU
we could say ho. Yeah.
Okay, we can say ho. Okay,
yeah, that's one of the words that we could say. Shelby Harris says ho. Lane Kiffin and the reporter says ho. Ho's been a big word in the sports world this week.
So I don't think Lane is a ho and leaves LSU. I think LSU is one of the jobs that you do stay forever at if you get things rolling. So I think it was the right move for him. I think he's going to have the ability to build a roster immediately to have success, and I think that roster is going to be something that's going to be a lot more sustainable without having to essentially redo it year in and year out through the transfer portal. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for LSU. I think that if he gets the right quarterback in the offseason through the portal, I think LSU is going to be contender in the SEC next season.
John Sumrall going to Florida. I know some Florida fans are going to say, oh, great, another G5 coach. But I think this guy, I told him last week when he was on the show, he's a football psycho. He reminds me a lot like Dan Lanning. I know they wanted Lane, but if you can't get Lane out of the candidates that were available, I think Summerall's a pretty good hire for the Swamp.
I think he's a great hire. I actually had Summerall. I had Tulane versus Duke early in the season when they beat Duke down there in New Orleans. Got a chance to sit down with him for the first time and talk to him, and absolutely walked away just so impressed, and obviously knew he was going to get an opportunity. Thought it was going to be Auburn. I think Auburn kind of fumbled the bag a little bit there, just with the connections there and them wanting to get the coach. And I love Golish too. I think that was a really good hire for them as well, getting from USF. But of the two, I think Summerall to me was I feel a little bit more secure in what he can do there, going to Florida than maybe what Golish is going to be able to do at Auburn right off the bat. So I agree with you. I know there's frustration of as soon as Billy Napier left, it was, hey, we're going to get Lane. We're going to get Lane. Oh, crap, LSU's open now, so the chances went down significantly. We're not going to get a group of five guy, but I do think this is a better group of five guy than what you had with Billy Napier. So he's going to change the culture, no doubt about it. It's going to come in there from day one. He's going to turn it around and hopefully get them going in the right direction. And it's going to be a tall task. There's no doubt about it. They've improved their facilities. They're on par now with the rest of the SEC. Obviously, they got some good financial backing. But it's a very competitive state, man. Florida State, Miami, USF, UCF. Obviously, everyone and their mother wants to go down to the state of Florida to recruit. But once again, to your point, I think they got the right guy.
Aaron Murray here with us. You talked about how Auburn potentially fumbled the bag with John Sumrall. Some Arkansas fans feel like they fumbled the bag with Alex Golish. A lot of people critical of the Ryan Silverfield hire. I just don't get what else Arkansas fans could expect. And is there that much of a drastic difference from Golish to Silverfield is also what I would say. I think it's a fine hire for Arkansas. I'm not saying you got to do backflips in the street, but what else did you think you were going to get here if you're
Well, I think for them too. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could get a Dan Mullen. I don't know. I mean, Dan's having some success obviously at UNLV. I think Dan was someone that I thought could be a good guy, maybe at Penn State as well. You start looking at these openings in the SEC, whether it was Auburn, whether it was, obviously Florida wasn't going to bring Dan Mullen back, but Arkansas, Dan Mullen's had a lot of success in the SEC. Obviously has a lot of ties in the conference. Is put a team in UNLV back into their conference championship game this weekend. I'm surprised he's not one that hasn't gotten a little bit more love because of his experience at the Power Four. And then obviously what he's done this year at UNLV. So he's someone that could have maybe, if he wanted the job, taken it. But I think at the end of the day with Arkansas, I really don't care who the coach is until there's more of a backing when it comes to financially putting that football team in a position, when it comes to NIL, when it comes to facilities. Like I said, it doesn't matter who the coach is. You can go hire Nick Saban tomorrow, but if this is this is what you're going to get and we're not going to give you any more, you're still not going to win consistently against the big boys. You need that financial. Look at Vanderbilt. I mean, they've been able to upgrade their facilities, brand new facility. They upgrade the stadium. They got the financial backing when it comes to NIL. And all of a sudden, I know Diego's been terrific and have been a big part of the reason why you get a quarterback, and then a lot of things happen. But they've a way more of a commitment now, and all of a sudden they're 10-2. And I'm not going to say it's an overnight thing for Arkansas if they get the backing, but man, you can't have just one. You can't have just an average coach and really good backing. You can't have good backing with or a really good coach without the backing financially. So they need to look at themselves internally and figure out, do we want to be good at football? And if you do, you need to be able to support it a little bit more.
So Kentucky's moving off of Mark Stoops. Aaron Murray here with us. Mark Stoops did a phenomenal job at Kentucky. I thought it was time. You hear Will Stein's name thrown out there, Brian Hartline, even Dan Mullen, like we talked about. Is there one there that stands above the rest? Would you go younger, or would you go for the more proven commodity with the Dan Mullen for Kentucky?
Yeah, I love Dan Mullen. I think Dan is Kentucky has struggled offensively. I mean, hell, they felt like they had a new offensive coordinator. It seemed like coordinator every single year for a while. They were just trying to figure out what we can do on that side of the football to build some, like I said, some consistency, some explosiveness. And they've really had to play, more of an old school style of football, which is not always fun. And also it tends to make games really, really close. And your margin of error goes down significantly when you play that style of football. So, I agree with you that the time kind of felt like it was now. It honestly kind of felt like it should have been a year ago after the 4-8 season, and he had another opportunity. And, I'm sure that the monster buyout had something to do with that as well. I think it's going to be somewhere in the $30 million they're going to have to pay him to leave. But it was the right timing. I say that, and I know it kind of felt like you're ready to move on from him, but to do it now with everything, with all these other jobs, I kind of felt honestly like you maybe should have waited until next cycle to get to put yourself in a position to maybe get someone better. I think right now you're kind of working your way down the tiers. Like the tier one guy, obviously Lane Kiffin, you're never going to get Lane, but then those next tier guys now pick their spot. So now you're going to, essentially to tier 2 or tier 3 and tier 4. I get, like, do you want to suck it up and have another bad year and just continue down that path? Or are you ready just to rip the Band-Aid off? I honestly would have probably waited one more year and seen what next cycle looked like when it comes to coaches and coaching availability. But if I do have to pick one, like I said, I love Dan Mullen, knows the SEC, has coached in the SEC, had success at Mississippi State. I still think he had some pretty good success at Florida when you look at what he did there at Gainesville without really any sort of backing when it comes to their facilities. And he's had success this year at UNLV. So I don't know why you would not label Dan Mullen as your number one guy to bring him back into the conference that he's had success at.
Wrap it up with Aaron Murray. SEC championship game. We get Georgia and Alabama. We saw this matchup earlier in the season. Bama won by 3 points. Even if Bama loses the SEC championship game, are they definitely in the college football playoff after finishing the regular season with 2 losses?
No, I don't think so. I think there's too many good teams at 10-2 right now where you do not want to be thrown into that conversation of, Miami. I think you'd still going above Vanderbilt because of the head-to-head. But you throw in the conversation of them, of Notre Dame, and you just don't want to be there if you're Alabama. Obviously, if Georgia loses, they're probably still in it because that'd only be their second loss, and both losses would essentially be to the same team. But I do think that Alabama being at that number 10 spot right now, if they lose this weekend against Georgia, could end up being out of the college football playoff. And this goes to the bigger discussion of where are we in college football right now, and what does it truly mean to be in a conference championship game, and do you want to play in a conference championship game? I've been leaning for 2 years now of there's been so much talk and excitement and push to expand the playoff to 12. Well, now let's expand it to 16 and whatever it may end up getting to, where that's the big focal point where it kind of feels like college basketball and it kind of feels like college baseball, where the SEC tournament or the ACC tournament or the Big Ten tournament or whatever tournament it is, it's kind of like, whatever. If we lose the first game, doesn't matter. Do we really want to win that? Or do we want to be basketball, one of the 64 teams to work our way into the tournament, or the same thing for baseball, working our way to Omaha? So I just feel like these games have lost a little luster in my mind. And really it's hard to say, like even Georgia is probably going to be the number 3 team in the country come tomorrow night. If they win this game against Alabama, they probably move up to number 2, but if they lose it, they probably move back to number 5, 6, 7. So you lose a first round bye by playing this game, where if you don't play in it, you're the number 3 seed heading into the playoffs. So I just don't know at the end of the day if these games are going to continue to garner the same luster from fans, and if players and coaches are going to eventually want to continue playing in them if you have the chance to really hurt yourself going into the playoffs.
When we get to Georgia, there was a stretch this year where they were winning games, but it was ugly. Now it seems like they're cruising. Forget about the SEC championship, just bigger picture here. Where's your confidence that this team could go win the Natty this year?
Oh, it's a lot higher over the past month, based on the way the defense has played. I've loved the offense, since they kind of turned things around in that Tennessee game. A little rocky start to the season, but new pieces, new quarterback. It wasn't going to be perfect, but Gunner's been terrific. Wasn't great this past week for Georgia Tech, but the rest of the season, he's been a guy that I thought could be in consideration for the Heisman based on his play, especially in big time moments and in the fourth quarter. So I have a lot of faith in the offense, and I think the defense has grown up a lot over the past month. So they're playing their best ball right now. They're playing their most complimentary football right now. So I would label them as one of the best 3 teams in America. Kind of them, Ohio State, and Indiana have kind of separated themselves from the field. Obviously, A&M has had a really bad past few weeks. Obviously, the loss to Texas was really telling over this weekend. So they've kind of lost a little bit of something for me. So yeah, if I had to pick, if you said, hey, it's Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, or the field, I would honestly probably pick one of those 3 teams right now to win a national championship over the field.
Last thing I'll ask you, Aaron Murray, if it comes down to Notre Dame and Miami, who should go to the college football playoff?
Oh man, the great debate. I love both teams. I'll be honest. I love both teams. I have been on the side of Miami all year. I think Miami is talent wise one of the most talented rosters in America. They remind me a lot of maybe even like an Ohio State last year, where the talent's there. Defensively, they've been really darn good. They have some of the best pass rushers in America. Offensively, they got great weapons. And when Carson Beck's not turning the ball over, I think he's still one of the best quarterbacks in America. So I think that they're a team that could win a national championship. I think Notre Dame is kind of right there too. But, I would say if there's one of those 2 teams where if they made it to the playoffs, who do I have more faith in that could make a run and win a championship? I would lean towards Miami. Like I said, I think Miami, if they get in, could be this year's Ohio State.
It's interesting because you didn't mention the head-to-head matchup where Miami beat Notre Dame. It's
well,
just
obviously
what you
that
think
goes
they could do in the
too.
future. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I have more faith in Miami as a football team, that they could end up making a run a little bit more than a little bit more than Notre Dame could.
He's Aaron Murray. Aaron, thanks so much. Appreciate you jumping on board with us today.
Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
There you go. Aaron Murray joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. We'll come on back. We got some questions on this Monday. I will tell you if they're onside or offside. We'll get to a little onside, offside next.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, onside, offside. Offside time right here. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Stu, what do you got cooking today?
All right, so the Browns got smoked 26-8 by the Niners yesterday as Shedeur struggled for most of the game, throwing for just 149 yards and a touchdown. Now in 2 starts, Shedeur is averaging 179 yards through the air with 2 touchdowns and a pick, while Dylan Gabriel went 1-5 with 6 touchdowns and 2 picks in 6 starts. After yesterday's game, the Browns said Shedeur will remain QB1 for now. Onside, offsides, Shedeur should be QB1 for the rest of the season.
Yeah, like who else are you going to go to? I've already seen Dylan Gabriel. I don't want to see any more Dylan Gabriel. I've only seen 2 starts of Shedeur Sanders. You're going to go back to Deshaun Watson, and it seems like that ship has sailed, even though you keep on seeing these videos or these photos of Deshaun Watson where he's inching closer and closer, right, to trying to present this idea that he's ready to play. But I think you should rock and roll with Shedeur for the rest of the season, so I will go onsides there.
All right, while the Browns cycle through their quarterbacks, their defense is rolling. Well, at least one guy is, and that is Myles Garrett, who now has an insane 19 sacks through 12 games and is on pace for 26.5, which would shatter the NFL single-season sack record of 22.5 held by Michael Strahan and T.J. Watt, though Watt hit the mark in 15 games. Onsides, offsides, Myles Garrett will break the sack record in fewer than 15 games.
So he's going to need 4 more sacks? Right? Yeah, that would get to 23.
Yeah.
And that would be in fewer than 15 games. So he would have to do that. He would have to have 4 sacks up against Tennessee because this is week 14. I'm not good with numbers, but if you were just going to say in 15 games, I would say on sides fewer than 15. I know that he's had a bunch of crazy sack performances this season. 5 against the Pats. He had 4, I think, up against the Steelers. Even though it could happen against Tennessee, but I don't think he's going to get 4 up against Tennessee. I'll take the odds that he doesn't. So Myles Garrett will break the record in fewer than 15 games. I'm going to go offsides there.
Now, just for the record, the Browns have played 12 games. It might be week 14, but they had a bye, so he's got 2 games to get there.
Gotcha. Sorry, I thought you meant just in the week. Yeah, then yes. You're right, because they had the bye week in week 9. Tennessee and Chicago. Yeah, he should be able to get 2 sacks against Tennessee and 2 sacks up against the Bears, even though the Bears' offense is playing really well. So Myles Garrett will break the record in fewer than 15 games. I will actually then switch that to onsides because of the bye week point.
All right, entering the season, the Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, and Lions were 1, 2, 4, and 5 in Super Bowl odds. But currently, KC, Baltimore, and Detroit are all out of the playoffs, and the Bills are clinging to the 7th seed, just a game ahead of the surging Texans. Onsides, offsides, at least 3 of those 4 teams will miss the playoffs.
And the Ravens, their offense was stinky. I had a lasagna layered anytime touchdown parlay on Thursday. Right out of the gate, boom, Montgomery scored 1. Right out of the gate, boom, Rashee Rice scored 2. Then all I needed was Lamar Jackson. And Lamar was absolutely pathetic. So with that being said, I still trust the Ravens more than the Steelers because, man, Aaron Rodgers got banged up yesterday. Already has the broken bones in his left wrist. And then he took a shot yesterday from Joey Bosa where Benford picked up the football, Christian Benford, and ran it into the end zone, and then his nose was gushing. But 3 out of those 4 teams will miss the playoffs. I still think the Ravens beat out the Steelers for the North. I'm still going to say the Bills make the postseason. And the Chiefs and the Lions are iffy. The Chiefs and Lions could both miss it. But at least 3 of the 4 teams will miss the playoffs and going offsides because I do think that the Bills and the Ravens will get in.
Offside.
All right, yesterday we saw 3 of the greatest catches that you'll ever see in the NFL. First, the Rams' Puka Nacua made an insane backwards one-handed snag against the Panthers. Next, Raider super tight end Brock Bowers did the impossible and pulled in a one-handed grab off of the turf.
I don't know how that ball didn't hit the turf.
I don't know either.
Brock.
I know. I was watching and I was like, that has to be a drop, and it wasn't. He caught it.
He was rocking out with his Brock out yesterday.
He was.
Instead of that system quarterback, Brock Purdy. But go ahead.
And then finally, you had the Commanders' Traylon Burks. He did his best OBJ impression with a leaping one-handed touchdown over a defender. Onsides, offsides, Bowers' catch was the best of the 3.
Traylon Burks, by the way, I think he was the receiver that got drafted, I think out of Arkansas when the Tennessee Titans traded that first-round pick for A.J. Brown. He was the guy that ended up getting drafted by Tennessee. Is it crazy to say that Burks, whose catch was ridiculous, was the third best catch? I don't think so. I would go Puka 1, I would go Bowers 2, and then I would go Burks 3. And the reason I would go Puka 1 is right. The Bowers catch, he's fading and the ball's right there and he scoops it off the turf with his left hand. The Burks catch is in the back right of the end zone. He goes up with his right hand and grabs it in. Puka takes the hand that's nearest to the football and like backward hands catches it and reels it in this way. If you're watching on YouTube, I just did a good job at probably visually showing you that. So I thought the Puka catch was actually the best catch out of the three. I would go Puka 1, Brock 2, Burks 3, even though all three were just flat out ridiculous. So Bowers' catch was the best out of the three. I'm going to go, I can't believe I'm saying this, offsides.
Offside. While this year's NFC's number 1 team, the Rams, lost to the Panthers, and last year's number 1 seed, Lions, they lost to the Packers on Thanksgiving. The defending Super Bowl champion Eagles, they lost to the surging Bears on Black Friday. The win was the Bears' 5th in a row and 9th in their last 10 games as they took over the top spot in the NFC at 9-3. Onside, offsides, the Bears, they are the best team in the NFC.
You know the first-year head coaches this year? You got Jacksonville with the Jaguars with Liam Cohen. They are 8-4. Then you do got Brian Schottenheimer with the Dallas Cowboys, 6-5-1. You got Ben Johnson with the Chicago Bears, 9-3. I understand you got Kellen Moore with the Saints, who's 2-10. You got the Patriots with Mike Vrabel, 10-2, could be 11-2. Huh, who am I missing?
Who else is on that list?
Who am I missing? Oh, yeah, Aaron Glenn. Jets are playing a little bit better. They got a win yesterday. They won me some money.
3 out of 5, baby.
They're 3-9. Aaron Glenn. I don't want to interview with the Patriots. Loser. And then, yeah, Pete Carroll. 2-10 with the Raiders. Jeez. It's rough. Rough. But you asked me here, are the Bears the best team in the NFC? They finally had a signature win. They did. They had a signature win. But just in their own division, I still think Green Bay is better. And now we're going to see them play twice in 3 weeks. So that's just in their own division. I still think Green Bay has the potential to be better than the Bears. So I'm going to go offsides on that question. You asked me if the Bears are the best team in the NFC. But Ben Johnson, give him credit. He's turned this thing around. After the first 2 weeks looked really ugly, he's been magnificent.
Offsides.
All right, the Steelers' offense looked anemic in their loss to the Bills, gaining 166 yards as Aaron Rodgers had just 107.
You know, at halftime, real quickly, sorry to cut you off. At halftime, I was doing on Compass, I had to give scoreboard reports when I'm doing I was on yesterday with the Vikings and the Seahawks. I was doing the studio pre-half and post. And at halftime, I gave an update on the Bills-Steelers game. Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers combined at half, had 105 total passing yards. That's how ugly that game was offensively. Continues to, sorry.
Yeah, well, Rodgers for the game had just 117 yards before leaving with an injury, and backup Mason Rudolph went 0 of 3 with no yards and a pick, playing basically a lot of the second half. Now, after the game, Rodgers called out his receivers. He signaled out tight end Jonnu Smith in the process as well.
When there's film sessions, everybody shows up. And when I check to a route, you do the right route, John and I just weren't on the same page. I checked to his in breaker and he ran out breaker. John is a true professional, so I'm sure he's sick about that. But, we have our meetings every week. We have other opportunities outside of the facility and look forward to seeing all the boys there.
All right, onsides, offsides. Aaron Rodgers has been worse than you expected this year.
No, Aaron Rodgers has been exactly what I expected this year out of him. He's a washed-up quarterback. He will be mid, as the kids would say. There will be some games where it'll look like he found the fountain of youth. But I said going into the season, I would be curious to see if he could last the entire season behind that offensive line. And, he was even looking hobbly at times last year as well. This guy's been the same thing that I thought the guy's career basically ended when, unfortunately, he had the Achilles pop up against the Buffalo Bills to kick off that era with the New York Jets. He was even bad at the end of his time with the Green Bay Packers. So it's been exactly what I've expected. The Steelers are going to be a fringe playoff team. The quarterback's going to be banged up, and his stats will be eh. So Aaron Rodgers has been worse than you expected this year? No. He's been exactly what I expected this year. So offsides.
Offside.
As we've talked about throughout the show, Lane Kiffin, he is off to LSU, and the divorce with Ole Miss got ugly at the end after Kiffin decided to leave the 6th-ranked college ball-bound Rebels. The school told him he wouldn't be allowed to coach the team in the playoffs. The decision prompted a scathing statement by Kiffin and some behind-the-scenes threats to poach coaches and other star players from Oxford to Baton Rouge. Onsides, offsides, Ole Miss is making a mistake by not letting Kiffin try to win a national title for the program.
I'm going to say offsides because they promote from within and they make Golding the head coach. So you already have your guy in waiting and the guy that's going to be the next head football coach of this team just taking over right away. And also, like, he's not leaving a G5 school to go to a Power 4 conference. He's leaving inside the conference, and he was going to be a malcontent there, and he's going to sit there and basically just recruit everyone over the next few weeks, however long Ole Miss's playoff run did last. It's unfortunate, but with how messy, this is like a Lane Kiffin problem. He made this messy. He didn't have to get to be this messy. But since Lane made it messy, Ole Miss put their foot down. So I don't think they're making a mistake in not letting Kiffin try to win a national championship at Ole Miss. So I'm going to go offsides there.
Offside. The defending champion Buckeyes finished the regular season undefeated as Ryan Day got that Ann Arbor monkey off of his back by dominating Michigan. Quarterback Julian Sayin finished the season with 30 touchdowns and 5 picks while completing nearly 80% of his passes. Ohio State faces the only other undefeated team in the nation in Indiana for the Big Ten title, who boasts their own superstar quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, who has 32 touchdowns and 5 picks, as both he and Sayin lead the way for the Heisman. Onsides, offsides, whoever wins the Big Ten title game, they will win the Heisman.
So Diego Pavia will probably be a finalist. Jeremiah Love just got banged up, but I still think he'll be a finalist. I still think Ty Simpson and Gunnar Stockton could maybe make a case to be made, depending on what happens in the SEC championship game. But it does feel like it's either going to be Sayin or Mendoza, and they got to play well. Like, you could play well and you could play poorly and still win the Big Ten championship game. I guess that's a possibility. But in theory, if you win the Big Ten championship game, you're going to assume you're going to be playing well. So I would probably say onsides to that. Whoever wins the Big Ten title game will win the Heisman. I'm in agreement there.
Staying in the Big Ten, Michigan State, they fired head coach Jonathan Smith after he went 9-15 in 2 seasons there, and they will hire former Northwestern coach Pat Fitzgerald to replace him. The Spartans have had just 1 winning season since Mark D'Antonio left in 2019 after having 6 double-digit win seasons in D'Antonio's 13 years at the helm. Onsides, offsides, Pat Fitzgerald can make Michigan State a Big Ten contender.
I think he could improve the program. I think it's a good fit for the program. He did a good job at Northwestern. Do I think that they're going to be competing with Ohio State? Do I think they're going to be competing with Indiana, Michigan, Oregon? I do not. I think they could be improved. A Big Ten contender? No. Offsides.
Offside.
All right, last one. As we discussed, Kentucky was a little late to the party in their coaching search, firing longtime coach Mark Stoops yesterday after 13 seasons. One name that has gotten some attention in Lexington is former Oregon and UCLA coach Chip Kelly, who was fired as Raiders OC a couple weeks ago. Onsides, offsides, Chip Kelly would be a good hire for Kentucky.
20 years ago, it'd be the best hire in college football. Now the game has passed him by. Absolutely not. It would be a horrendous hire. I'd rather hire Brian Hartline. I'd rather hire Will Stein. I'd rather hire Dan Mullen, just for starters. One of those 3 guys, it feels like, has to be the next head football coach at Kentucky. Chip Kelly, would he be a good hire at Kentucky? No. It would be a disgusting hire. So I'm going offsides there.
Offside.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Let me quickly take Chris in Alabama next up on the show. Chris, what's happening? Good afternoon.
What's going on, Zach Gelb? I mean, hey, what can I say about my Crimson Tide? Hey, tell the producer to cut on the Bee Gees because we staying alive. Staying alive. Exactly,
alive,
baby.
Staying alive. I think you guys are in the playoff either way, by the way. Even if you lose this weekend, I still think you're getting in.
If we don't beat our Suns at this point this Saturday, I don't want to.
Really?
And I mean, yeah, I said Suns. If we put up a turn test and call Maury, let's believe we'll be doing a dance that we pretty much own those boys.
You say calamari?
Call Maury.
Oh, okay.
Povich.
Gotcha. I thought you said calamari like the food. You got me all thinking about the food, the squid and all that stuff. Or octopus.
No, man, you know what it is. We're just keeping the Toomer's Corner down here in the best college football rivalry, not the game, because that game would need competitive, unlike the Iron
you're
Bowl.
saying Alabama Georgia is the best rivalry? Is that what you're saying?
No, Alabama Auburn.
I love Alabama Auburn. It's not Michigan Ohio State. It's just not.
Oh please! The people have literally got killed on the results of this thing down here, man. And literally, if Ohio State and Michigan didn't have them down years, you have the NFL and the NBA. We don't even got none of that down here, baby. But other than the UFL. But what I will say is this though: when it comes to the Lane Kiffin stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
You can't blame Lane, and I want to talk to all the Ole Miss fans. So you can't blame Lane, and honestly, they aren't at fault either. Who is at fault? Those pathetic wusses they call themselves Louisiana State University, because they can't play their hand that they themselves chose the deal, and even then they want to take Brian Kelly to the court about paying the money that you do indeed owe him.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sink in. It's like, don't get me started on the fact
know what,
that
you think of fit, like Kalani Sitake, him and Pat Kraft will have a lot of energy, but I don't think Kalani Sitake is a fit at Penn State. It could work. Lane Kiffin, though, and thanks for the phone call, Chris, he's a fit at LSU. If you were mocking up what LSU is about, it's Lane Kiffin. So the two seem like it's a match made in heaven. But sometimes you put together two people that you think are going to be really great and get married one day and end up being like a toxic relationship. That's a possibility. But I thought Brian Kelly could win a national championship at LSU. I was dead wrong. Do I think Lane Kiffin could win a national championship at LSU? Absolutely. Is Mike Tomlin going to be out at the end of the season with the Steelers? We'll discuss on the other side. Update time first. Here is the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
And it's brought to you by Progressive Commercial Insurance, who protects small businesses with affordable coverage options. Quote today at progressivecommercial.com. The Giants and Patriots meet tonight in Foxborough, a matchup of two teams headed in opposite directions. The Patriots are back on top, looking for their 10th straight win, with Mike Vrabel leading the way and an MVP candidate and second-year quarterback Drake May. However, he won't have left tackle Will Campbell protecting his blind side. The rookie is on IR with a knee injury. Big loss, according to the quarterback.
Man, it's tough. I think just for someone who works so hard and is playing at a high level and at such a young age, I think it's just hardworking for him. I know he'll be back, and I know he's gonna work hard to get back.
The Giants have lost 6 in a row, but will have Jackson Dart back tonight after missing the last 2 games. He makes his first start under interim coach Mike Kafka. Charlie Bullen takes over as defense coordinator after Shane Bowen was dismissed last week. Kentucky is looking for a new coach, moving on from Mark Stoops after 13 years. The Wildcats finished a 5-7 season with a 41-0 loss to Louisville. Bob Chesney is reportedly leaving James Madison to take over the coaching reins at UCLA. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, like us on Facebook. Our handle is INF Sportsnet. That's INF Sportsnet for our Facebook page. This is the Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, welcome back. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Let's hear from Alex Golesh, the new head football coach at Auburn. Obviously, when Hugh Freeze was at Auburn, it was all about golf, 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 golf. Does the football coach golf more than maybe even the golfing coach? But he was clearly golfing more than paying attention to the football program. So inevitably, Alex Golesh was asked, Do you like golf? Do you golf? What's your golfing background when he was introduced today as the next head football coach of War Eagle?
My question to you is, do you like to play golf?
So it's a setup question. Been here long enough to know that. So my little man, Barrett, loves golf, and Corbin used to, and she's now super into cheerleading and flag football, so she's just doing it as a hobby now. And my wife is an elite golfer. I like football more than golf. And I'm terrible.
Could you imagine if he was just stopped and didn't say the I'm terrible part? I'd be sitting there and saying, ooh, that's not a good answer. But once he throws out the I'm terrible part, it's okay. That's not a concern. That's a good way to handle it. Do you think the PR people prepped him on that one? Do you think they knew that a question about golf was coming? Like, don't get me wrong. I have stirred up the pot quite a bit throughout the years in some press conferences. I don't even think I would able to be put 2 and 2 together of, okay, the old football coach loved to golf. Golf was such a good storyline or a big storyline under Hugh Freeze. So now let's ask the new head football coach if he likes to golf. Stu, do you think the PR person was even savvy enough to prep the coach that maybe there's going to be a golf question there?
I don't think so. I'd be pretty surprised if that was the case.
Yeah, I'm with you on that front. All righty. Steelers lose yesterday. They have now lost back-to-back games. They have won 2 games since week 6. So since week 6. So after they beat the Cleveland Browns in week 6, so from week 7 and on, they've won 2 games. Against the Colts, impressive. Against the Bengals, not so much. So you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. They beat the Jets to open up the season 34-32, not impressive. They then got crushed by the Seahawks 31-17. They beat New England, where now that looks like a good win, but they probably should have lost that game. I think like Ramondre Stevenson had 500 fumbles in that game. Then they beat the Minnesota Vikings, and I think Carson Wentz was the quarterback. I'm pretty sure Carson Wentz was the quarterback at that point because it was week 4. McCarthy played a game and a half. Yeah, it was Carson Wentz. So that's not an impressive win. Then they beat Cleveland. Who cares? They lose to the Bengals. Terrible. They lose to the Packers. Not embarrassing. They beat the Colts. That's a good win. They lose to the Chargers 25-10. They beat the Bengals. Who cares? They lose to the Bears. They lose to the Bills. This has been a bad season. Now, could they still win the division? Yes. The Bengals could still win the division. The Ravens could still win the division. The Steelers obviously could still win the division. But you're sitting there if you're a Steelers fan. And I understand, right, there could be some fan bases that say, oh, the Steelers are selfish, right? Like, Stu, you would love Mike Tomlin as the head football coach of the Raiders.
Sign me up.
Samter, you would love Mike Tomlin as the head football coach of the Jets.
I love Aaron Glenn, but yeah.
Come on. It's not even close. So to a Jet fan or to a Raider fan, you're looking at Steelers fans and you're saying, this guy's been your coach for 15, 16 years, whatever it is. He's won a Super Bowl. He's consistently over 500. He's consistently in the playoffs. Now, I get it. He hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. The Jet fan, Samter. The Raider fan, Stu. They're saying, oh, Steelers fans are spoiled. We'd love to have that success. We'd love to have a coach that's been there for basically 2 decades, has won a Super Bowl, right? A Super Bowl, been to another, even though they lost it, right? Is always in the playoffs. I get it. They haven't won a playoff game in a decade. But these are the Pittsburgh Steelers now. And I'm going to defend the Steeler fan that wants Mike Tomlin out. I think the national media is embarrassing when it comes to this Mike Tomlin topic. And I think that a lot of other people in the media are embarrassing when it comes to this topic. The Eagles got rid of Andy Reid, right? Andy Reid. I know he didn't win a Super Bowl. They got rid of Andy Reid. Now, Andy Reid's gone on to win 3 Super Bowls, but the Eagles have also gone on with 2 different coaches to win 2 Super Bowls. The Patriots. Bill Belichick won 6 freaking Super Bowls. Patriots moved off of him. I know it didn't work out with Gerard Mayo, but now it's working with Mike Vrabel. There's an expiration date on everybody. And when you're the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, just get into the playoffs isn't good enough. Now, I don't think that the Steelers are even contemplating moving off of Mike Tomlin in this offseason. The Rooney family, it's Noel, it's Cowher, and then it's Mike Tomlin. they don't make changes really at the head coaching position until the coach wants out. That's just the way that it feels like. But with that being said, I do think the days of Mike Tomlin winning a Super Bowl are long gone and long done in Pittsburgh. And isn't that the standard? The Steelers have won 6 Super Bowl championships in their franchise history. The standard's not just to make the postseason, be a fringe playoff team each and every year. You get in, and then you get smacked in the wild card round. But that's what the Steelers have become. So if the Eagles at one point could move off of Andy Reid, if the Patriots at one point could move off of Bill Belichick, why is it crazy to say that the Steelers should move off of Mike Tomlin? It's just time. And the Steelers could find their next coach to usher in the next era of Steelers football. And Mike Tomlin would get scooped up tomorrow. And maybe it could even benefit him by going somewhere else. Maybe he could win another Super Bowl somewhere else. But in Pittsburgh, the idea that Mike Tomlin's winning another Super Bowl anytime soon, I just don't see it. You'd be a damn fool at this point to think that they're anywhere close to winning a Super Bowl. It's not like it's been a 3-year hiatus. Folks, they haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. 2016 season. I was just starting my radio career in the year of 2016. I was just getting out of Temple University. I was working for Fox Sports 920 The Jersey with Stu. And I didn't even know Stu was one of my employees as I was Stu's boss. That's how long it was. I ended up working at The Fanatic. I ended up starting at CBS Sports Radio. Then after 2 years leaving, going to Sirius for 3 months, then coming back here. Right to present day, December 1st of 2025. Through all that, the Steelers haven't won a playoff game. Like, come on. You know, I have gone through my early 20s to my mid-20s to my late 20s, now to my early 30s since the last time the Steelers have won a playoff game. But now you can't fire the coach. I just don't get it. And if your argument is, oh, well, he'll get a job tomorrow, that's not good enough. Yeah, Andy Reid got a job tomorrow. The Eagles, I know they hired Chip Kelly first, but they ended up getting Doug Peterson, Nick Sirianni, both of them won Super Bowls. The Patriots got rid of Bill Belichick. It didn't work out at first with Jerome Mayo. Now it's working with Mike Vrabel. The Patriots have the most wins in the league after tonight with 11. If they just beat the lousy Giants. By the way, where's that Marash? I want to see Marash today. I want to do a little pregame celebration and just taunt Marash on this game because he hates the Patriots and he won't even admit it. So, yeah, I think it could be – I don't think it could be time. I think it is time for at the end of the year the Steelers and Mike Tomlin to split. But do I think that's going to actually happen? No, I do not, because the Rooney family doesn't operate that way. Chris Doring's going to join us next. We'll talk some college football with all the mayhem that did go down the other day in the SEC coaching carousel.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on the Infinity Sports Network. John Sumrall is the new head football coach at Florida. Lane Kiffin is going to LSU. Ryan Silverfield to Arkansas. Alex Golish to Auburn. And Kentucky has said goodbye to Mark Stoops. Let's talk some SEC ball now with the Florida legend. Chris Doran, kind enough to join us right now on the Zach Gelb Show. Chris, appreciate the time. How are you?
Hey, good to be with you, Zach. Thanks for having me.
So what's the immediate reaction, right? The news comes out yesterday. You're going to have John Sumrall as the new head football coach of Florida. He was introduced just a few hours ago. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the immediate reaction from Gator Nation was a bit of disappointment on Friday when the news started to break that, one, they weren't going to get Lane Kiffin, and two, that it was leading to look like it was going to be John Sumrall. But I think as time has passed, you've seen people kind of come full circle. You know, I know the more people that I talk to that know him, friends of mine that played with him in high school and in college, those that have been around him, you know, since he's been coaching both at Tulane and Troy, see what this guy's accomplished. They know the kind of person he is. They know what Florida needs right now, and that's somebody to rally around. You know, a lot of the criticism of Billy Napier was that he didn't show much emotion. That's quite the opposite of what John Summerall is. And so I think with that, the fact that he's a winning head coach at 2 different Group of 5 programs, and that he comes from some SEC pedigree, the fact that he played at Kentucky, he's been an assistant in this league as well. All of those things lead me to believe that this is ultimately going to be a hire. May not be the flashiest from the get-go when comparing it to Lane Kiffin, but I think flash is not necessarily what you need. Substance is what it's about. I think he's a man and a coach of a lot of substance.
Yeah, and I know when Tulane played Ole Miss earlier in the season, Lane Kiffin said it feels like John Summerall is going to be a coach in the SEC next year. I think it was one of the worst-kept secrets in America. A lot of people thought it was going to be to Auburn. It ends up being Florida. So clearly you wanted Kiffin first, but if this is the consolation prize, I think it's a phenomenal one, because I said it to his face 2 weeks ago. He's a football psycho, and I think that's something that Florida needs, is not only a coach to get them moving in the right direction, but a guy that fits the school, and his passion and his energy definitely does that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, he's all football all the time from the guys that I know that have been around him. And I do think Florida needs somebody that's going to do everything they singularly can to bring this program back to where it used to be. Because honestly, Florida's on the verge of becoming irrelevant in a lot of ways. And, this is a crucial hire. I think even more importantly, or equally as important, is the hires of the coordinators, particularly the offensive coordinator. I think Coach Summerall's got to go out and find a guy that can be extremely dynamic with an explosive offense that can score points. Because let's be honest, that's what Florida has been built upon with the success in the 90s and 2000s, and that's kind of why they all kind of gravitated towards Lane Kiffin. But obviously that didn't work out. I think you've got a guy that's a little more stable, perhaps, and you go get that up and coming OC that can put up some points and entertain the fan base. I think people will quickly get excited about the hire.
If Brian Kelly didn't get fired and he was still the head football coach at LSU, do you think Lane would have left Ole Miss to take the job in the Swamp?
That's a tough question. I think initially it looked like, Florida was going to be the destination. I think there were some things that turned each side off about one another as it related to Lane about Florida and Florida to Lane. So it didn't work out, but I used that old Garth Brooks song, thank God for unanswered prayers. Sometimes we don't get what we want in life, but we get what we need. And I think for, looking at how this thing has gone down in Oxford and what's happening in Baton Rouge, might be a bullet that Florida luckily dodged.
And there's going to be a lot of Florida fans that are saying, hey, Scott Strickland shouldn't have been able to make this hire. What's your read on the athletic director from afar?
I thought, on Friday when the news broke, I think there were a lot of people hearing a lot of misinformation and stories that were not accurate. In hindsight, he moved quickly to make sure he got his guy before Auburn got him. You mentioned, Auburn having some interest in Coach Summerall, and Ole Miss could have as well. He may not have been Lane Kiffin, but I think this was 1B in everybody's book in terms of the available coaches that could fit SEC openings. And Scott Strickland wasn't going to have that, left out of his hands and stand there empty-handed. So I think, I give him credit for making a decisive move when he had to on Friday.
Once Kiffin is off the table, clearly they pivoted to Summerall. They get him. Some Florida fans are going to say, another Group of 5 coach. What do you say to those fans that immediately dismiss it just because it's a G5 coach?
I think it's irresponsible. I mean, there's a lot of coaches that have had success at the highest level, including in the SEC, that have come from a Group of 5 background. Not all Group of 5 coaches are created equally, and not all Group of 5 coaches bring all of their Group of 5 assistants with them. And I think that's one of the key things you're going to see with this staff is it's going to be an accumulation of accomplished coordinators and assistant coaches that have some experience in the SEC that can help the acclimation process a little better. And the addition of a new general manager as well. Florida's all in, pushing in the right direction right now, and that includes with the support of the financial aspect of it, which we all know right now in building a roster requires money.
Chris Doring here with us. How did you react to this weekend? I know Florida was associated with it, but it was clear heading into the weekend, it felt like, okay, it was going to be either you stay at Ole Miss or you go to LSU. But everything that happened over that 3-day stretch with Lane Kiffin, your reaction to it was what?
Man, he milked every minute of the drama out, didn't he? I mean, it was a dramatic weekend on and off the field. I mean, think about this, Zach. We had the SEC championship participants still left up in the air until the final seconds of the final game that was being played in the SEC. Auburn and Alabama, the Tide put that great drive together to punch their ticket to Atlanta. So we used every bit of that clock, and we used every bit of the promise that we'd get an answer on Saturday, which actually rolled into Sunday for Lane Kiffin. The storylines coming out, including that Juice Kiffin's not even his real dog. I mean, there's all sorts of things that we're finding out here after the fact, and I'm sure there'll be continued release of information as we move forward.
This could be tricky because I know you played in a different era, and there wasn't NIL and there wasn't the transfer portal the way that it is today. But if you were a player in that Ole Miss locker room, would you want Lane Kiffin to continue coaching your team if he already said, hey, I'm leaving Ole Miss to go to LSU, but clearly Lane Kiffin still wanted to coach through the playoff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I have enough information to make that statement. I do know that when Ole Miss made the announcement about Pete Golding taking over, there was a large rush of excitement from all the players. I think they understand that Golding's not only a great coach, but a guy that's committed to being there in Oxford. Unfortunately, in life, there's a lot of things that we want, and, we don't get to have our cake and eat it too. I do think having Lane Kiffin on the sideline would have helped their chances of winning, but with the way this thing has gone down and the negativity that seems to be around, his departure, I don't know that you could have him on the sideline. And I give credit to Keith Carter, the athletic director, for what he's done in some decisive moves and being very definitive. I think this has actually rallied the fan base there in Oxford. I think you're going to see an overwhelming amount of support for the Grove Collective that continues to be one of the best collectives in all of college football. This was proof of concept. This is proof that Ole Miss is not some second-tier program nationally. They have the ability to win at the highest level. They are here in the playoff. Pete Golding can keep the train on the tracks. And with the financial support that I know will continue, I don't see any reason why this Ole Miss team can't compete for both an SEC championship and a college football playoff berth going forward.
And really, with something that doesn't have a dog in the fight, outside of my plus 950 ticket for Alabama to win the championship that I've had all throughout the start of the season, but as someone that doesn't have a rooting background with any of these teams that are going to make the college football playoff, I kind of want to see Ole Miss go on a run here and take it as far. And I'm curious to see what the committee's going to do. Because now they don't have their coach. I don't think they're going to drop him out of the playoff, but I think they are going to drop him, and it kind of stinks out of getting a home playoff game.
If they drop him, I think that's completely irresponsible. I mean, there's no data point that we've seen, unlike the Jordan Travis injury where we saw him play against Florida, saw him play against the ACC championship, and it was a completely different team. We haven't seen anything. In fact, I thought the team focused incredibly well on Friday with this deadline looming on Saturday. Played a really sharp game in all three phases and won decisively. I don't think there's any merit for demoting the Rebels given what they've done. They're an 11-1 team from the SEC. I think they deserve to host, and I'm excited to see what Oxford would look like with a home playoff game.
Chris Doring here with us. So my producer doesn't agree with this statement. Aaron Murray has not agreed with this statement. I think Alabama is in regardless if they win or lose in the SEC title game. Would you agree with that, or do you think they need to win to get in?
Is that because of your plus 950 ticket that has you feeling like that? Is that?
It's just 2 losses in the regular season. Last year they showed you it doesn't really matter, if you lose in the conference championship game.
I am with you. Could you imagine the committee having to look Greg Sankey in the eyes and tell him that your conference runner-up is not good enough to be in the SEC or in the college football playoff? That would not go over very well.
We'd have a 16-team playoff before this one even started, honestly.
Exactly. There is no way that's going to happen here. The SEC, when you're one of the 2 best teams in the SEC, clearly that's all that you need to say about your deservedness of playing in the college football playoff.
Chris Doring here with us. When you get to the Miami-Notre Dame debate, if that's what it comes down to, because there's a chance, right, if Texas Tech beats BYU, I think BYU is out. I don't think Texas, even though Sark made a good case, I don't think they're going to get in. It feels like there's a good chance we're coming down to this argument of Miami and Notre Dame. Who do you think should get in, and who do you think will get in?
Yeah, I mean, the regular season has to count. The fact that both teams are 10-2, I know it was way back at the end of August when this game occurred, but it's still in the 2025 season. So we have we need to be able to have head-to-head matter when you have the same exact record. And I would even make the case that Texas may have an argument for getting in over 10-2 Vanderbilt, given the fact that, they scheduled so difficultly out of the gates with Ohio State, the defending national champion in Columbus, and beating Vanderbilt head-to-head. But in this instance, with Notre Dame and Miami both being at 10-2 and Miami having won that game, there's no loss of a quarterback or coach or anything else that you can justify. They have the same record. Notre Dame lost in that game. Miami deserves to be over the Irish.
Chris Doering, what do you think of Alex Golesh going to Auburn and then Ryan Silverfield going to Arkansas?
Yeah, I don't know enough about Silverfield yet. I obviously saw them, knock off Arkansas earlier in the season. But as for Golesh, I watched him when he was here in the SEC at Tennessee as Heupel's offensive coordinator. I watched him walk into the swamp with an undermanned USF team and beat my alma mater. I mentioned it when we did the press conference shows today. Auburn needed somebody with some edge, and they went out and got a guy with some edge. I mean, this dude was born in the Soviet Union back in the day. I mean, that's all you got to say about cred right there. But I think you look at his fire on the sideline. You look at what he said today about needing to run the ball. That perked up the ears of Auburn Tiger fans. I mean, running the football is in their DNA. So I think this is a great hire for them. I know that they were kind of trying to get with Summerall as well, but I think Golesh is a good fit for the Tigers.
When you look at Kentucky, all good things come to an end. I think it was past time to get rid of and move off of Mark Stoops, who was an incredible coach for them. What do you think is next for Kentucky? Where should they look to?
Yeah, 13 seasons, the longest tenured coach in the SEC. I have great admiration for Coach Stoops and what he did there. It took that team, that program to new heights. They were always kind of right there on the doorstep, but couldn't punch their ticket. Had a couple of chances late in the season and a couple seasons to beat Georgia to get the SEC championship game for the first time. Couldn't do it. Unfortunately, like you said, it's kind of gone in the wrong direction the last 2 years, and I think the writing was kind of on the wall. In terms of a coach, I mean, I always thought Summerall was going to head to Kentucky, and Kentucky didn't quite, move quick enough to be able to secure a former player there. So I'm not sure where they go. But I hope that they can build on the success of what Coach Stoops created. You look at the investment, the infrastructure, their practice facility, the football facility, everything there is just top notch. I know Mitch Barnhart runs a great athletic department in general. And so finding somebody Kentucky, I don't know if you've been there, man, but Kentucky has one of the underrated football fans. Everybody thinks about them as being basketball fans, but they're very knowledgeable and very passionate and show up despite the product sometimes not being the best. So they deserve somebody that can get them back in the mix. And we're seeing it right now. If Indiana and Vanderbilt can compete for college football playoff spots, no reason Kentucky can't.
Three names came to mind. Will Stein, who's from the area. I grew up as a Kentucky fan, even though he played for Louisville. Brian Hartline, right? His brother played for Kentucky and is also on the staff right now. And then I would say Dan Mullen. Like, if he wants to leave UNLV and get back into the SEC, Dan Mullen could be a good fit for Kentucky.
Yeah, no, I would agree with all three of those. And I think at a place like Kentucky, it is about fit. I think it's important that you have somebody that understands, what that makeup of that dynamic is with that region in the country. But I also think you have to understand that you're going to have to share the stage with basketball, and you're going to have to share a higher split of the revenue too. And so it does take somebody a little different that is able to maybe put the ego aside.
It is actually crazy because I'll never forget. It was one of the most craziest things I had to talk about just in terms of college athletics and things that aren't serious. When Calipari years ago said they were a basketball school and Mark Stoops actually made Calipari apologize for it. It kind of showed you how good, obviously Stoops was, that you could get Kentucky, who's a basketball school, get a guy like Calipari to have to apologize for that. It really shows how good of a job that he did at that university.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, and he deserves to be appreciated. Again, kind of limped to the finish line here the last 2 seasons, but it's a guy that took them higher than anybody else has and deserves a lot of credit.
So we talk about fit. On paper, if BYU is losing Kalani Sitake, if that happens to Penn State, I think from afar, most people are going to say, it doesn't really seem like a fit, even though I think his energy could match the energy of the AD and Pat Kraft. If that does go down, that after getting rid of James Franklin, Penn State hires Kalani Sitake, what would your thoughts be from afar?
I mean, that would be an amazing get. I think both ways. A lot of success there. Obviously, I focus a little bit more on the SEC and have not covered BYU in his stint there, but have watched from afar and seems like a very strong leader and somebody that could handle being in that bright light of that job at Penn State and the expectation level that goes along with it.
Last thing I'll ask you, just getting back to John Summerall, going to your school, Florida, what do you think he needs to know? Like, if you had to tell the new Florida coach just some things about Florida to make sure that they get it right, what would you tell him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very passionate fan base. I think it's one that, you can see expects a lot. There hadn't been a Florida coach that's made it through 4 years since Urban Meyer left. And so you're not going to have a ton of time, man. The idea of, hey, we got to build a program, it's going to take a couple of years. The transfer portal, what other teams are doing around the country, you got to come in and hit the ground running. So I think it's so much about hiring the right coordinators and assistants, as I said, but also going out and being able to mine that transfer portal. This is a talented roster that he inherits. The question is, can he keep those guys going out and keeping Jaden Baugh, keeping Miles Graham, figuring out, how to rally not only the existing guys on the roster, but the commits that they have. That's a top 10 class right now. He's got a lot of work to do, but he needs to hit the ground running.
One last thing, Chris Doering, when you get to the SEC championship game of Georgia and Alabama, what do you think the keys are to this one?
I mean, it's all about protecting Ty Simpson. You go back to that first game, I think they completed about 68% of those third downs, including the first half where they are absolutely unconscious. If you've seen the last month of the season, that offensive line, the pass protection in general has not been very good. Ty Simpson's accuracy has gone down. So they've got to find a way to protect. I think Georgia's defense has gotten better. They're more penetrating up front. It's a fascinating matchup given the history with Kirby. I think, 1-7 against Alabama. But another opportunity to kind of change the narrative for the Bulldogs.
He's Chris Doering. Chris, hey, we really appreciate the time today. Thanks so much for doing this once
again. Thank you, man. Take care.
There you go. Chris Doering with us on the Zach Gelb Show. We'll take a break. When we come on back, we'll do a little studs and duds on this big football Monday.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
On the Zach Gelb Show, we're looking for studs.
Back to pass. Bosa picked up. Deep shot. Jefferson. Yes!
But sometimes we have to tolerate the duds.
Mistake. Lamar takes the snap. Rolls to the right. Throws. Complete. No! He dropped it. Mark Andrews hit him in the head.
Now for the moment you've all been waiting for.
And here we go.
It's time for Studs and Duds.
All righty, let's start in the college football world with some studs. So 3:50 to go, fourth quarter. You're at Jordan-Hare. Tie football game, 20-20. Alabama's going on a meticulous drive, and it's a 4th and 2. It's a 4th and 2 at Auburn 6, right? Just kick the field goal. Go up by 3, go up 23-20, and then trust your defense in the final 3 minutes and 50 seconds. Well, Kalen DeBoer said, I'm putting my cojones on the table, and I got brass balls. That's what Kalen DeBoer said. On 4th and 2, not only did he go for it, he converted it, and not only did he convert it, it was in the end zone for a tutty to put the Crimson Tide up 27-20.
Simpson, end zone, touchdown! Isaiah Horton with the hat trick. A stunning decision, frankly, to pass up the chip shot and roll the dice, and it worked. With everything that's at stake for Alabama.
Stud.
All right, I'm going to stick in the SEC here, and one of the best stories of the year that has been Vanderbilt football, and it's a shame that they're probably not going to make the playoffs despite being 10-2 on the year. But Diego Pavia, a great year that he has had, and he kind of finished that off with a big 45-24 win over Tennessee, completed 18 of 28 passes for 268 yards, had a touchdown, and also rushed for 165 yards. He had 20 carries, so he's doing the bulk of the carrying the ball as well on the season. 38 total touchdowns, just 8 interceptions. He is third in Heisman odds. He'll likely be a finalist there. And here, of course, was that rushing touchdown to put the game away late.
Pistol formation for Pavia from a Kylan gun behind him. Man's in motion. There's the snap. Pavia runs toward the left. He finds some space. There goes Pavia at the 10, at the 5. Touchdown, Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia. This kid is a legend. What a run for 24. Diego Pavia silences Knoxville.
Stud.
Did you see what happened with his brother? His brother got arrested during the game for public intoxication. It was the second time this season his brother's been arrested for public intoxication. So we got the dud sounder there just real quickly. Diego Pavia's brother.
Dud.
All righty, Samter, what do we got cooking?
I'm going with your favorite head coach, and that's Mr. Ryan Day.
James Franklin's at Virginia Tech. What are you talking about?
Getting that proverbial Ann Arbor monkey off of his back, beating Michigan, and not just beating Michigan. I mean,
like
they
a drum.
absolutely drubbed them. It was only 27-9, but I think they held Michigan to like 160 total yards on offense. They couldn't move the ball. 22 first downs to 9, 40 minutes of possession to 19. I mean, it was an absolute 419 yards for Ohio State, 163 for Michigan.
Just play the highlight. I don't want to hear it anymore. Just play the
Absolutely
highlight.
nonsense. Before last season, there was questions about.
Like, seriously, just play the highlight. I don't want to hear this anymore.
I don't care. This is my microphone.
Just play the highlight.
I've thought,
let's get this over
as you
with.
can imagine, over the years,
Class
after
act.
winning this game, what I'd say in this press conference, and I'm going to save all those comments because I think the best thing to do is win with humility.
Yeah. Class.
And that's what we're going to do, and I think that's it speaks to our program.
Legend.
It speaks to what it means to be a Buckeye. We wanted to take this rivalry game back this year. And so the way that our guys played certainly spoke to that. And they played with great passion and great physicality.
Stud.
I'll tell you, when they threw the interception early, I'm sitting there saying, here we go again. And they made a little like pan to Ryan Day on the camera, and he looked like he was about to cry. But hey, give him credit. It was the last 4 years obviously did not go his way, and he was embarrassed, but they walked into the big house and they opened up a can of whoop ass on the Michigan Wolverines. And Sharon Moore, you may not be that guy, pal. You may not be that guy, pal. And Bryce Underwood, they paid you too much money to play the way that you did. All righty, let's go to the NFL world. I think one of the more underappreciated stories in the NFL this season are the Carolina Panthers. They could win the NFC South. If they don't, I don't know if they're going to go to the playoffs, but the Carolina Panthers are now 7-6, and here are their victories this season. They beat the Falcons 30-0. They beat the Miami Dolphins 27-24. They beat the Cowboys 30-27. They beat the Jets 13-6. Then they beat the Packers in Green Bay. They beat the Falcons again, and now they beat one of the hottest teams in the league in the LA Rams by a score of 31-28. And how about Bryce Young? A year ago was benched, got his job back, improved down the stretch. But this year, he's playing some solid football. Here was the stat line on Sunday in the 31-28 win over the Rams. 15 of 20 for 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. That was just efficient play by the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. And let's hear the late touchdown to Tedditora McMillan.
Rams crowd the line of scrimmage with a one-high safety look. Bryce off play action. Has time in the pocket. Throws downfield for McMillan. Makes the catch of the 20. He's got the 10, the 5. Touchdown, T-Mac. Touchdown, Carolina. And the Panthers take the lead.
Stud.
Snoop.
All right, I'm going all the way back to Thanksgiving Day for my NFL stud. And look at the Cowboys. They have won 3 straight. They are one of the hottest teams in the NFC right now, and they beat the Chiefs 31-28 on Thanksgiving Day. And Dak Prescott had another great game. He was 27 of 39, threw for 320 yards, had 2 touchdowns. He now leads the league in passing yards and is only behind Matthew Stafford in passing touchdowns. And here was one of those passing touchdowns from last Thursday.
Prescott looking that way now. He runs up out of the pocket. He sprints to the right. He dumps the ball to Williams, who steps in from the 1. Touchdown, Cowboys. They drew it up in the dirt.
Stud.
I'll tell you with the Cowboys, I like Schottenheimer a lot. Dak's having a good season. George Pickens is behaving himself, and he's balling. The Cowboys, they're getting hot here. They are getting hot here. It's getting interesting. They come on back. They beat the Eagles from down 21-0, and then they have that performance on Thanksgiving Day against the Chiefs. Very, very impressive. Samter.
Another one of your favorite coaches. I think this is like Troll Zach Day. I'm going to go with the red-hot Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson. They've won 5 in a row, 9 of their last 10. They just beat up on the defending champion Eagles, who that's a whole other story. They're a mess right now. But right now, the Bears look good. Their defense is good. Caleb Williams is making plays. All the question marks about whether or not he can win in the clutch, he's answering those questions. And after the game, I know you love a good post-game speech. I know you love Dan Lanning's post-game, psycho-ness. You want to talk about a football psycho? I know you don't like Ben Johnson because of how he acted in the offseason, but when you see stuff like this, what he did after that game and taking off his shirt in this post-game speech, I think you have to start liking Ben Johnson.
I know you guys are hungry for more, right?
Itching.
Let me tell you something. The city of Chicago is hungry too.
Yeah.
It's Chicago.
It's Chicago! Listen.
Here we go. Good, better, better. Good, better, better. Never let it rest. Never let it rest. It's good gets better. It's good gets better. It better get better. It better get better. There's on three.
Stud.
Now, I will say, in this offseason, Ben Johnson was douchey McDoucheface. He was. He was unlikable. He was arrogant. He was cocky. The first 2 weeks of the season, he didn't look all that good. But they are winning games in Chicago, and that's all that matters. And they just got a signature win by beating the Philadelphia Eagles in the way they ran the football. The background story, though, on him taking his shirt off, I actually may now start to like Ben Johnson. There's a legendary hot dog stand in Chicago called the Wiener Circle. They basically berate you as you're ordering hot dogs. So they made a challenge. If Ben Johnson took his shirt off in a, when addressing the team in the post game, that they would give free hot dogs to all Chicagoans. So on December 2nd, tomorrow, the Wiener Circle will still berate you, but they'll be giving you free hot dogs. So Ben Johnson, it's still complicated, but he is growing on me. All righty, let's get to the college football duds. All SMU had to do was beat Cal, and they would have been back in the ACC championship game with the chance to go back to the college football playoff. And they couldn't do so. They're playing Cal. Going into the game, Cal only had 6 wins on the season. I get it. SMU isn't, this juggernaut this year, but they had 8 wins on the season entering this game, and you let Cal beat you. And there was like 100 fans maybe in that stadium, and they still almost toppled the sideline reporter and the Cal coach, the interim coach for Cal afterwards, which was a crazy scene as the Cal fans were storming the field. But late in the game, with the chance to tie it up and send this baby into overtime, I'm not going to crush the kicker because it was a 52-yard field goal, but it was no good. And SMU's season, pretty much, I know they're going to go to a bowl game, but it's pretty much over because they're not going to the college football playoff.
With a spot in the ACC championship game. Kick is up. And the kick is no good. Cal is going to win it. And Duke will play for the ACC championship.
Dud.
Stu?
All right, I'm going to go with Haynes King for mine, and he's had a really good year, but on Friday against Georgia just was not his game. Now, Georgia Tech's defense did a really nice job against Georgia, holding them to just 16 points. They held Gunnar Stockton to just 70 passing yards. They forced a turnover as well, but the Yellow Jackets on offense were not good, scoring only 9 points. I know it wasn't all Haynes King's fault, but he was 19 of 27, 181 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 interception. Red zone struggles as well all game, and after the game, Haynes King talked about those offensive red zone struggles.
You got to convert on third downs and to keep the drive going. I don't know how many plays we had. But I think we had like 21 in the first quarter. That's not very good unless you're scoring from far out. We didn't do that. And, like I said, when you spot people a couple possessions, you can't really run it as much either. You got to try to find things that work. And, we found ways to move the ball, just couldn't finish in the red zone.
Dud.
I'm going to go with Texas A&M quarterback Marcel Reed. They went undefeated going into the last game of the year against Texas. He was terrible. 20 of 32, 180 yards, 62% completion percentage, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Granted, he did have 70 yards rushing on the ground, but that was a game they had to win to get to the SEC championship game. They are not in the SEC championship game now. They'll obviously be in the playoffs for sure.
Yeah.
But, man, if you take away the game against FCS Sanford 2 weeks ago, the dude has 7 touchdowns and 6 picks over his last 4 SEC games. He has not been great. Makes me really question whether or not A&M is actually a legitimate contender, because when he goes up against legitimate top-tier talent, he's really not, all that special.
First down and 10, A&M off the right hash of the Texas 43. Marcel Reed has the snap. Back to throw. Still looks, swings it out left side. Ball intercepted! Kobe Black! How about that?
Dud.
And also, he's dealing with an ankle injury, so we're going to have to see what his health is like moving forward in addition to that. Alrighty, let me get to my NFL dud. I was doing this game yesterday for Compass Media Networks. It was the Seahawks and the Minnesota Vikings. J.J. McCarthy was out with the concussion. You knew Max Brosmer, the undrafted free agent, was going to be making his first career NFL start. Well, he got picked off not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times. And Ernest Jones had 2 interceptions and a touchdown and led the Seahawks in tackles with 12 of them. But Max Brosmer, it was 4th and 1 early. I thought Kevin O'Connell should have ran the football here. Instead, though, he put the ball in his young quarterback's hand, and this happened.
4th down and 1 at the Seattle 4. Handoff, play fake, Brosmer being chased. Brosmer is going to go down, and he throws. It's intercepted. Coming back to the near side, far side 50, down to the 40, being chased. 20, 10, it's Jones who is intercepted, his 4th pass of the year, and this one goes to the house.
Dud.
Now, just for the record, for our listeners and our viewers out there, you sent a Slack to us at 5:50 yesterday saying my NFL dud is Max Brosmer. His pick 6 was one of the worst I've ever seen. The game was barely at the half.
Didn't matter.
He only had that 1 pick, and you still called him your dud. He threw 3 picks after you called him your dud. He's the dud of the dud of the dud. That was amazing. I was loving that.
I'm doing the game for Compass Media Networks. I'm talking to my producer in between breaks, and I go, that's going to do at 10-0. They didn't even need the touchdown. 3-0, it was over. That Minnesota offense had nothing, and Justin Jefferson, my guy, Justin Jefferson, you and Drake May would look good in New England. Force a trade. Just saying. They're wasting Justin Jefferson with the Minnesota Vikings. All righty, Stu, go ahead.
All right. I will go Pete Carroll on this one. Another loss for the Raiders, which is probably like a win at this point, but
hit the retirement home.
Yeah, 2-10. They've been a shell of themselves. They look like they took a step back from last year even, which is saying a lot. Obviously, we talked about Chip Kelly being fired. He fired the special teams coordinator earlier in the season, and just really all aspects around a terrible season and a terrible game. And obviously the Chargers, they had a really nice day offensively, and they had this rushing touchdown as well, which kind of sealed the deal.
And there's the pitch to Vidal. He's got to get to the corner, and he does. There he goes into plus territory. Vidal on his horse. 30, 20, 10. Kimani Vidal, touchdown Chargers. 59 yards.
Dud.
All righty, let's go from one retirement home guy and Pete Carroll to the next one.
Well, I'm going to go to the Steelers' offense. I know we can knock Mike Tomlin. I'm just going with the offense in general. Yeah. I'm just going with the offense in general. 166 total yards, 10 touchdowns to 26 for Buffalo, 18 minutes of possession, 2 turnovers, a fumble, an interception. They were just brutal. Aaron Rodgers, who had 117 yards passing before he got hurt. Mason Rudolph took over with 14:44 left in the third. He had 4 possessions that he played in. He played in 4 possessions. Starting from 14 minutes left in the third to the end of the game, he threw 3 passes, completed none of them for no yards. The only completion he had was to the other team for an interception. They are awful. And remember, the Steelers were cruising in the AFC North earlier in the season before the Ravens got hot. I mean, they're 6-6 now. They might not even finish above 500, let alone make the playoffs or win the division. And this is exactly how it sounded when Aaron Rodgers got hurt on the same play that Christian Brentford returned a fumble for a touchdown.
Pistol formation for Rodgers. Turns and play action pass. Dancing out to his right, in trouble, and hit from behind by Bosa. The ball is out. It is scooped up. It is run in for a Buffalo Bills touchdown. Christian Brentford scooped it up, and one play into the second half, the Bills have taken the lead.
Dud.
Yeah, I thought it was funny in that game when they put Rodgers back in. I was like, can he just put his feet up? Like, there's no point in throwing him out there on the field. The nose was all busted. He has that huge, what I think it was a cast that was on his wrist because he has multiple fractures in his left wrist. It was ugly, ugly, ugly. Jay in Nashville, I'll get you on the other side. You'll also hear from John Summerall and Lane Kiffin before we let you run. Update time first, though. Here is the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance, who is proud to support veterans and small businesses with its annual Keys to Progress vehicle giveaway program, helping our heroes drive their lives forward. Learn more at keystoprogress.com. The Patriots host the Giants in the final game of Week 13. New England has won 9 in a row. Has its challenges. The left side of their offensive line is out. The Giants' defensive line has been the lone bright spot of a unit that saw defensive coordinator Shane Bowen fired last week. Charlie Mullen takes over in the interim and has the stamp of approval from the team's best player, Brian Burns.
Charlie's a smart coach. I feel like he's been around a lot. You know, he has a lot of experience. He was under a great tree, you know, and just, you know, talking ball with him every day, watching extensive film with him every day. You know, I picked up on his football knowledge.
That's Charlie Mullen. Jackson Dart returns from a concussion. Drake May, whom the Giants tried to trade up for, has made the Patriots look brilliant playing at an MVP level so far this year. The Lions' Terrion Arnold went on injured reserve with a shoulder injury. Kentucky, the latest SEC school looking for a new coach with Mark Stoops out after 13 seasons. Michigan State makes it official, naming Pat Fitzgerald its new head coach. I'm Rich Ackerman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on Instagram. Our handle is Infinity Sports Network. That's Infinity Sports Network to follow us on Instagram.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. From the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Let me go to Jay in Nashville next up on the Zach Gelb Show. Jay, what's shaking, my man?
Man, it's cold down here in Nashville right now, but we all right. Shoot, I know you just did the studs and duds, and tell you right now, the stud of the whole season got to be Signetti, because you know what? He stayed at Indiana, and he's going to the playoffs with his team. So, you know, and you know what? They got a magical season going on this year. You know what? He decided to stay, and we already know who the dud is. I mean, it's more like a heartless dud, and I'm a Lane supporter, but I just can't believe he went out like this.
I could believe he went out like this. Like, come on.
I know.
This is Lane, you know, whether it was the PowerPoint with Al Davis, you know, what happened in Tennessee, getting fired at USC. This is what Lane does. He likes the drama. It's needed for college football because he's the personality guy. He's the polarizing guy. We want a little personality from the coaches. But no, you know, Saban and Pete Carroll basically told him to take the job, and he listened to them, and now he's the head football coach there.
Yeah, I mean, but he had that whole special, like, I found myself in Oxford, and I'm a changed man. And then the thing about it, I even said it on Maggie and Perloff this morning. I almost got in trouble over saying the H word, but spelling it out basically. But I better not hear nothing from.
They wouldn't let you say "ho" on that show.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you can't. We got to drop because you spelled it out." I'm like,
"Ho? Can I not say ho still?" I've been saying it all show.
Sounds good to me. Sounds fine to me.
Yeah. So
I don't know, but he did go out like a ho.
On the afternoons, we let you say ho, Jay. In the mornings, they won't let you say ho. You know?
I think that's what it is. Sesame Street is still on, so you can't say ho like while Sesame Street is on.
Just say he was ho 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 ho. Merry Christmas. That's what you got to say.
Just say he was a backhoe. You know what I mean? I used to drive one, but like I said, the way he went out and with that whole word is like, dude, somebody needs to. We're talking NIL, and I better not hear Saban ever complain about NIL again. But they need to take his name, image, and likeness, and build him an OnlyFans account, because that's how he went out, like straight up ho. And it's like, and I don't like calling that because I am a Lane. I'm a still support Lane.
Yeah, you're a Lane train guy.
But this move right here, this was a whole move.
Yeah.
It really was.
Jay, appreciate the phone call. Thanks so much. There's Jay in Nashville. Let's hear from Lane Kiffin. He was introduced as new head football coach at LSU, and he made it clear that he presented a plan to Ole Miss to continue to be able to coach them even while taking the LSU job so he can continue out the season.
Yeah, great first question. That was, as I referred to, that was
excruciating and difficult. And like I said, we tried every possible thing for a long time the other night and into the morning. As you saw, the team meeting announcement get pushed back because we were trying to get that done. And I'm very grateful for the chancellor there and Keith Carter, that they listened. We presented a plan how that could be done and give the players there the best chance to win in the playoffs. And at the end of the day, that's their decision. And I respect that and made a good point. That may make sense to everybody outside, why the best thing was to keep us all together for the playoffs, and may make sense to all the national media, why that makes sense to do that. But, like he said, he has to live there. And I totally respect that, and I respect their decision and so appreciative for them.
It don't really make sense to me. You're leaving. I would want you to continue to coach those kids, but you left to another SEC school. And you were so sloppy about it, and you're just going to recruit your own staff and recruit those kids there for 3 weeks until the run ends. So I can understand why they wanted to let you go. All righty, let's hear from John Summerall. He made it clear that he talked to Lane Kiffin a lot throughout this whole process.
I do want to be very direct on one thing, and you may or may not appreciate this, but Lane Kiffin and I have been going through the same thing, and we've talked a lot. We were both in agreement that I was the right man for this job. All right? So he co-signed on that.
All right, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Corey, New Orleans, to Zach. Which new college football coaching hire will have the most successful first season with this new team? You can submit a question by tweeting at INFSportsEdder at Zach Gelb, using hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I got to say, it's Lane. It's a transfer portal era. Look how he just built his team at Ole Miss. Now look at the resources that he'll have at LSU and all the talent that he has to pick from. I'm going to assume that it's going to be Lane Kiffin at LSU, and LSU will be in the postseason this time next year. All righty, that will do it for the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network on a Monday. Aaron Murray, thanks so much for joining us. Chris Doring, thanks so much for joining us as well. Each and every one of you. Appreciate you tuning in, listening, tweeting, interacting, calling the show however you may do so. Big thanks to Stu. Big thanks to Samter. Big thanks to Ack. We'll be back tomorrow on a Tuesday. You could always get at me on Instagram and Twitter at Zach Gelb, or on TikTok at The Zach Gelb Show. Go Pats. They play the Giants tonight. We'll see if the Patriots get their 11th win on the season. And we'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Everybody, we out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.